Please don't let us down, David. Otherwise, we're going to have to talk about Flat Earth ourselves without any knowledge.
Yeah. We are now anyway.
It's taken 15 episodes to get to there. But, I'll just quickly introduce the podcast, everyone to the podcast, and then we'll introduce David, and then we'll get going.
Cool.
All right.
Cool. So,
and you guys are all, before we start, you guys are all believe you live on a spinning ball, right?
I'm not married to the globe, but
yeah.
All right. You're already a flat earther.
But yeah,
I'm on the edge, so to speak.
what happens when it comes to it in the thing.
Oh, maybe they did. So in the back there is a
light brown
cool story.
We're not the first. We definitely won't be the last. We'd like to welcome you. Not another conspiracy cast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Not Another Conspiracy Podcast. We have in Michigan, we have Dean Sauter.
Hello, everybody. Lovely to be
York,
here as usual.
In York, we have Mr. JJ Jackson.
Hello, how are you doing?
And in lockdown in South East.
Connecticut.
Oh, no, I'm going to introduce David later.
Oh, sorry.
Introduce the podcast first. And Dean's giving it away. In Connecticut, we have Mr. David Weiss.
What is going on?
He is
First guest as well, everybody. First
host
guest.
of the Flat Earth podcast. And what's the other podcast, David? You do all the other stuff?
The Flat Earth podcast. I do some radio shows. Monday Night Raw on Truth Frequency Radio. Also broadcast on a whole bunch of platforms. And I am the creator of the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app, which helps you learn about the insane, crazy stuff that I'm going to be telling you about today.
So exciting.
Nice.
I'm
all about the Zodiacs. I love the Zodiac shit.
Yeah. Hey, while we're talking, whoever's running the show, can you enable screen sharing for me at some point so I can do that?
Come on,
So
Ben,
just
mate.
let me start, and then I got a question for you guys, and then we can dig in any way you want.
Sure.
I'm going to say some, for those people that are already tuning out, stop, just wait, because I was you. I did a podcast called Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, where people in the third year we were looking into conspiracies, right? You guys could dig that.
Yeah.
And in the third year, people started saying, "Hey, Dave, have you checked out the flat Earth?" And they'd send me links and stuff. And like any rational person, I would delete those emails and ban those people from our social media for being so stupid. But then I was forced to look. And then when I looked, I went in with a bias. I went in, not as an open researcher. I went in with a bias. I'm going to disprove flat Earth. And I'm going to prove the globe. 6 years later, I quit my own company. Doing this full time.
Wow.
I'm talking to guys like you. I'm the flat Earth guy. So I'm going to say some crazy, insane things today, and I'm also going to say some things where you go, "Oh, yeah, that makes sense." And what you're going to notice is the crazy, insane things are when I'm trying to explain the heliocentric model, which ballers think they live on, and the things that when I'm talking about the flat Earth, you'd be like, "Huh, that makes sense." That's kind of what I experienced. So to start. Where are you guys? You got the fence, you got the flat Earth, and you got the ball Earth.
Well,
and if you're on the fence, you're already a flat Earther. But go ahead.
I'm not even convinced that we aren't living in a simulation. If you ask me, I'm not convinced that this isn't all a computer program. We've done a simulation theory episode about this, and where we discuss this in great detail how we might not even actually exist. So that's where I am. So I don't know even if we are on a globe. Maybe we're in a simulation of a globe on a flat Earth, or if we're in a flat Earth.
I used to laugh at that thought.
So yeah,
I mean, I've watched a lot of flat Earth documentaries. Probably not half as many as you have yourself, but I'm into the idea more than I am the concept. I think I'll get into it later on. I recently, again, watched Beyond the Curve last night, and I have a few theories about that, but we'll get into that later on. But yeah, I'm just open to any crazy ideas. That's the one. That one. I'm into any crazy. I guess it's esoteric ideas. Maybe not so esoteric these days, but any ideas that there is an alternative history, which is, I think, is what we're actually dealing with, is the history thing rather than the actual thing that it is now. So yeah, I don't know about Dean, but
So with myself, like, great exits there, guys. Well done. So I kind of, I guess I can kind of agree with Ben's observation in saying that he's not convinced that everything we even exist in is the way we perceive it as it is, and not particularly myself believing the same as Ben, saying that, like, I'm not convinced that we're not in a simulation, but I think life just almost feels too fantastic for there not to be outrageous possibilities. I mean, at the moment we're going through a period right now of huge UFO disclosure, and the idea of interdimensional beings existing, and it's 10, 15 years ago, that was like nuts. Like, that was, what's that? An alien, like, in a fourth dimension. Like, you can't see things, but they're actually here. Get out of town, sort of thing. You know, like, so, and I'm in that kind of perception of life right now. Like, just the universe, space, reality, and what we're finding out on these journeys that we're taking. Just shit's crazy at the minute. And to say that one thing, like, people that will sit there and say, like, oh, aliens exist and we have advanced craft and they can do this, they can do that, metals that can manipulate, but then they will sit there and go, oh, but by the way, like, the idea of the earth being flat, nah, fuck that off. But there's crazy, and then there's crazy, but for some reason they're on a seesaw and going up and down with each other. Why aren't they in the center? You know?
So here's the thing: when you don't understand what the flat Earth is, which most people don't, especially if you watch Beyond the Curve, and you don't even fully understand what the heliocentric model is. That's what ballers have in common. They have a misconception of what the flat Earth is, and they don't even know their own model. And when I started looking into flat Earth, I didn't know the globe model. All the things I found out, because anyone that studies the globe model, really studies it, will realize that it's just a ridiculous impossibility. But aliens and extraterrestrials, we're going to talk about them. Aliens work on a flat Earth and a globe Earth. Extraterrestrials only work on a flat Earth.
Good observation.
Okay. So we'll talk about that. That'll be fun. But since you brought up Netflix, I'm going to bring that up. For those of you that haven't seen it, it's a movie. It's a love story, which isn't a true love story. It's a made-up story. And then we did an experiment in this movie where we were going to use a laser going through. We have 3 sheets of plywood with a hole at 8 feet high, off, leveled off the water, which is right next to it. 2 or 3 miles apart, a mile, maybe it was 2 miles or 3 miles, whatever it was. And the idea was, if we could shine a laser through all 3 holes, that would prove the Earth is flat. But if we couldn't, because on a ball Earth, the middle board should be a little bit higher. It should be on top of the hump.
I understand.
Just by a few inches, by 8 inches or 12 inches, 14, whatever it was. But when we went to do it, the laser melted the condenser, because lasers spread out, and we had a condenser that would keep it narrow, because when we shined it 2 miles, it was 10 feet wide when it got there.
Yeah, so I saw that part, because then you did another experiment that involved a camera looking at a hole.
So we
with
just
a
used
light.
a camera and a light, and we couldn't see the light, and then we held the light up, and you could see it. Now, that says something's blocking it. Could be curvature, or it could be a branch of a tree in the middle of the thing, which it was. And Jaren goes, that's interesting. Cut, end of movie. Okay?
Yeah, it made it look like the experiment.
They brought the
failed.
camera, they brought the light down, and we could see it again.
Right, I have not seen or heard that part.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. When you do these experiments, they're a lot harder than you realize. You got to go there. People are miles apart. You have to have batteries. You have to have cameras. It's such a logistical nightmare. And when we were going to do this, the people that were doing Behind the Curve said, hey, we want to come. We'll film the whole thing. We're like, great. Then you can give us all the raw footage. You're like, yeah. And they did the whole thing. Then they sold it to Netflix. And we're like, can we have the footage? And they're like, nope. You can't have any of the footage. It's part of our contractual agreement with Netflix.
Yeah.
So there was observers there that were ballers and flat earthers, right? Just like Republicans and Democrats, watching the vote. And everybody walked away saying, this proved nothing. It proved nothing. Even though it kind of proved that we could see too far that we're seeing something, but it wasn't the experiment we're doing. Everyone walked away, but the movie made it look like we were hiding that we proved there was curvature.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, it Netflix, behind the curve, Netflix deception.
Yeah, that's
So-
this is interesting as well because I've gone into this blank. I apologize because I've got a
no
very,
worries.
very, very busy few weeks coming up to moving home and whatnot. Now, I was completely unaware that there was a behind the scenes kind of situation with that. Now, I take it the flat Earth community have you guys done something to maybe kind of get that point across? Because I've not seen anything behind it.
We preached among the choir because all of the shows that we do, we're talking to flat earthers that already know this. We've had conferences, we've brought it up, we've showed them, we explained the whole thing. We've done it a million times, but somebody like you guys or everybody that's not a flat earther, they're going to go to Netflix and watch the flat earth film, and they're going to see that, and they're going to be mind controlled. Right?
Tunnel vision. Yeah.
I mean,
you're showing something, you're like, huh, that's interesting. It's just editing. It's just horrible. It's not horrible editing. It's awesome editing.
The issue that you've got with any of those documentaries that go to mainstream sources is that they're trying to give you an overall view of everything all in an hour and a half. So that I think the issue that they had with the documentary we were talking about is that they focused so much on the relationships between flat earthers. They didn't actually touch much on the concept, and I feel that was where I kind of just lost interest. It was more about look at I think it was Mark Sargent, and it was like
they tried to make a love story between him and Patricia.
Yeah.
It was just a movie. That's all it was, a movie. So let's get past that. Let's get into what flat Earth is and what it isn't, and then we'll get into whatever you guys want.
Cool.
Okay.
If you Google flat Earth, you're going to end up at the Flat Earth Society. The Flat Earth Society is a government-controlled disinformation site.
Really?
You Google, yeah, absolutely.
Funny you say that. Funny you say that. On Google, it doesn't even come up in the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 search results. I've got Flat Earth Theatre. I can't even find Flat Earth Society. Interesting.
Well, so a lot of that stuff I haven't Googled it lately.
Oh,
but the stuff you're going to get is nonsense. If you Google flat Earth, the images of flat Earth, this meme shows up. Look, the Earth is a pancake and everything else is a ball. That's not what any flat Earther thinks. The flat Earth is not a disc in space.
Okay, right. Okay.
It's not a disc in space. This is when you Google images of flat Earth, this is what you get.
Yeah.
And this is all from the Flat Earth Society. So if you search YouTube for flat Earth, you're going to get all propaganda pieces, all hit pieces, Nat Geo piece, where they prove that there was curvature. Well, we show you how they're lying and how obvious it is, and just people that have eyes to see can see it. So let's just talk about what the flat Earth is. So we're told that at the bottom of the ball is Antarctica, right? It's a continent at the bottom of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what flat Earthers believe at all. So think about this. A puddle is when water accumulates in the low spot of the land, right? After a rain shower, you got a puddle, and the edge of the puddle is just where the land is higher than the surface of the water. Expand that out to a lake, even bigger than a lake, a pond, and then a lake. It's just a big puddle, and the shoreline that goes around the lake is the land that's higher than the surface of the water, right?
Mm-hmm.
Agree.
What if you had some land masses in the middle of the lake that were higher than the surface of the water?
Get an island.
We call those islands.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. So the flat Earth is think of all of the world lakes as all of the world oceans as a giant lake. Okay. And we are living on the islands within that lake. Right.
Okay.
So we're on all these islands. And the shoreline that surrounds the lake is the highest land on Earth, and that's Antarctica. Okay. When you go to Antarctica, you heard about the ice wall. That's because the land is like 100, 200 feet above your heads. I mean, there's some areas where you can go on the land, but then, you go uphill to the plateau. Antarctica is the highest land on Earth. We live in the Antarctic basin, and we're not allowed to explore south of 60 degrees, this pink line. Okay. No one's allowed to independently explore south of that line. South is that way.
So for listeners of the podcast, it's literally past the purple line is just ice and snow. I take it.
It's just the shoreline of the world pond that we call Antarctica. They told us it's a ball, a continent at the bottom. Imagine the globe. If you could stick your fingers in the bottom of the globe and open it up like an orange peel, right? And spread Antarctica out so it surrounds you. Yeah. And then there's hundreds, if not thousands of miles of land and ice. And then there's a mountain range, and we don't know what's out there, and we can only speculate because it's off limits until the year 2041.
How is it off? Who said it's off limits? What's the?
So in 1957, supposedly, Admiral Byrd, while they were exploring Antarctica,
I like that guy.
He said, land bigger than the United States, full of resources that no human has ever stepped foot on. And then all of a sudden, the Antarctic Treaty shows up. All of the nations in the world sign this treaty that we must protect the penguins and the ice, right? Penguins and ice. That's all there is down there, supposedly. And they all signed on before environmentalism was even a word. But meanwhile, we can deforest the Amazon and whatever.
Right, yeah.
That's fine. And this treaty can't even be questioned until the year 2041. That's a long time for all of these nations that can't agree on anything, supposedly. And it's in effect to this day. You can't independently explore Antarctica.
Yeah, it sounds that sounds like this wasteland essentially. All right, wasteland.
Without going off on a tangent, am I right in believing that Admiral Byrd was the man who springboarded the Agartha theory that the Earth is hollow?
Yeah,
I think so. Because
holes.
Right. Yes.
Maybe they're using that because. How can there be land bigger than the United States on Antarctica? So maybe they're like, well, he went underneath, and that's what he meant, and all of this stuff. And by the way, there could be a realm below us.
See, yeah,
we'll get into that.
Yeah,
we'll get into that again in a little bit. That makes more sense than a flat Earth than a ball Earth. So that's it. The Earth is 70% water. That's what they tell us. Kind of appears that way from observations. Large bodies of water at rest lay flat. Okay, that's a fact. They don't curve. We've tested with microwaves over frozen lakes that are hundreds of miles long. Over salt flats, we've used lasers and mirror flashes of the sun, at the water surface where there should be a hump of water, 50 meters high, and we're flashing and we can see the flash.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So we can see too far. For example, this is called they call it the black swan for some reason. And this camera's at 1 foot off the ground. Okay.
Explain as well. Sorry for audio listeners.
Yeah. No problem. So the curvature math for a globe, and do you know how big the globe is supposedly? 24,901 miles around at the equator.
Yeah. I actually had that in a Christmas quiz.
Yeah. So here's the thing. The globe is way easier than the flat Earth. You can just believe it. You're done. That's it. Memorize some shit in a book. Don't even memorize it. It doesn't matter. They don't even want you to memorize it because they don't test you on it. They just tell you that's the way it is. You believe it, and you can just go drink a beer and take a nap. Doesn't matter. If you want to understand the flat Earth, you gotta friggin' think, right? So if there's a ball, whether it's a basketball or a beach ball or the globe ball, doesn't matter what size, there's a curvature rate. If you're on the top of a ball and you're going out, that rate's going to drop off faster and faster the farther out you go on that tangent line.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So the math for that is 8 inches per mile squared. Pretty easy. 1 mile is just an 8-inch drop. At 2 miles, the drop is more significant. So it's 2 times 2 times 8, which is 32 inches. 3 miles, it goes all the way to 6 feet. This is globe math, not flat earther math, globe math.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a 6-foot-tall person standing at the edge of the calm water should only be able to see the surface of the water for 3 miles, and then it should drop below his eye level, and it should be hidden by a physical horizon, which is the water, because it's just curving around, curvy water. Okay. So that's as far as you should be able to see. At 1 foot, that horizon is like 1.2 miles, before you shouldn't be able to see it. But here's a picture of some oil rigs. One of them is 9.4 miles away. From 1 foot, taking that into account, there should be 59 feet of curvature. So we should not be able to see the water surface at this oil rig. But not only can we see the water surface there, we can see it for miles and miles and miles beyond it. Yeah. And again, I'm going to show you guys where to see all this stuff. I'm going to point to some doors today. Don't believe anything I say.
I'm so glad I haven't taken any edibles or smoked any weed.
I'm halfway there, man. I'm halfway there.
I feel stoned, and I'm not even stoned. Like,
So right there, no curvature, no ball.
Yeah.
Now people go, well, what if the Earth is much bigger? Well, we can see things so far now, especially with our infrared cameras. We can see things so far that the Earth would have to be 1,000 times bigger, and there should still be some curvature.
Right.
Okay. So if the Earth is 1,000 times bigger, we got a whole nother problem on our hands. Okay. So, that's the
that's
globe
big Earth
lie.
theory. We're not getting into big Earth theory today.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So there is no curvature, period. There's no rotation. Now, we send balloons up at 120,000 feet. This balloon's at 120,000 feet. The horizon is flat, but worse than that is the Earth is spinning close to 1,000 miles an hour below us.
Right.
The
Yeah.
balloon's up there for hours, and then it lands within 100 miles of where it took off from.
So just on to what you're talking about now, I recently watched a documentary called Rocket Man. I believe it was about Mike Hughes, Mad Mike Hughes.
That's Mike Hughes.
Yeah. Again, another documentary that is hugely biased to the watcher rather than the people who are actually trying to, do something with their lives. Like,
Yeah.
This is what I really do enjoy about alternative theory is that the fact that there is people still trying, and I enjoy that.
Right.
So in his documentary, obviously, all it wanted to do was show a guy who, to give it to him, he's called Mad Mike. Like that, that's
For
a
a
thing.
start.
But yeah, and obviously when they show you the rocket thing at the end, where it obviously just doesn't work and whatnot. But one of the major things was talking about atmospheric pressure, which I'm not a scientist, so I didn't really understand it all. But he's talked about the atmosphere and how it distorts light and sound. I just wondered if obviously we can go into that later. It was just something while it's on my mind now.
You brought up
Yeah.
Mike Hughes. Let's bring it up. Mike Hughes is a nice guy. Killed himself. He's a stuntman, like Evel Knievel, and he was going to be doing this highly publicized steam rocket launch with his homemade garage rocket. He was going to go up 1,800 feet.
And you've got to
Yeah.
respect that. It's crazy.
1,800 feet. I mean, airplanes fly a little higher than that, and we don't see curvature from airplanes. So he's going to go 1,800 feet. And he was trying to raise money to get some compressors or whatever. And some flat earthers saw him and said, hey, Mike, we'll raise that money for you if you put a billboard on the side of your thing that said flat earth. Because we figured, hey, it's going to be on the mainstream news. It'll say flat earth. Well, the
Right.
mainstream news ran the article, ran it 1,000,000 times, and they're still running articles on it saying Mad Mike's trying to prove the shape of the earth, in his rocket. He's trying to jump in his rocket to see the curve of the earth at 1,800 feet. I could throw a rock 1,800 feet, I think. Okay? And he ended up killing himself. Okay. And so, many flat earthers, including myself, are like, this guy's going to kill himself. He's going to give us a bad name. He's going to, they're going to run with the story and say crazy flat earther kills himself. And that's exactly what happened. So
Yeah,
Mad
okay.
Mike, he was a flat earther, but he wasn't trying to prove the flat earth with his rocket. He had dreams of putting a rocket up on a balloon, getting it to 120,000 feet, and then launching it from there. Okay.
Okay.
Which, I think he'd need $180 million to do that. And I don't think he was going to do that.
See,
Which do
even
you? Sorry.
sorry, just listening to David's small own personal take on Mike there is completely different to anything that I had come across with Mike. The way that they portrayed him was as a complete loon, and by the way, he killed himself. A unison of shrugs.
That's
And-
not even the. It's not okay. It's not. Oh, and he killed himself. It's like mad man dies being mad. It's like how it was-
and that's
That
really
man died
sad.
trying to prove the earth is flat with his rocket.
Yeah.
That's
Well, that
the
was-
main story.
That was the thing that the problem is with the prefix of his name. It's in a documentary about flat Earth, so you immediately presume the reason why he's mad is because he's a flat earther, not
Yeah.
because he is a fucking crazy stuntman who tries to jump a limo over fucking 12 school buses or whatever the fuck he. I know he did something with a
You guys
limo.
know it. You guys know that this world is all about mind control and
Absolutely,
wizard tricks.
right.
I mean, they're constantly, linking things together and playing with our subconscious. That's all Mad Mike was. That's why he had a series that he was doing, and they gave him a movie and everything. It's all just to
Yeah.
And
persuade people
It's
that
and
flat
it's-
Earth is crazy.
Yeah, and it's sad to see that his own honest sort of like we can all sit there and say this guy, like I've got friends that, like, for instance, most British people believe Princess Diana was murdered. I know people that are just like, government wouldn't do that, and that's like the simplest of like kind of concepts. Like, why wouldn't they?
Yeah,
do
the
it?
government wouldn't, but the royal family definitely did.
Yeah, definitely did. But like with this, it's so sad that it's that his like adventure that he was trying to achieve is still being perpetuated as like such like so terribly, like just
Yeah.
an utter smear campaign. Whereas his story isn't as outlandish as anything else, and it's sad.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a lie. They're twisting it and making it something it totally wasn't. And Mike even tried to straighten that out, but that part never made the news. You know,
No.
of him saying that he wasn't trying to prove the flat Earth. Well, they can't do that because then the story's not worth publishing.
Yeah,
Right.
true.
So real quick, heliocentric model.
Oh yeah.
We believe that we're spinning on a ball at 1,000 miles an hour. If the Earth is 24,000 miles around, 1,000 miles an hour would bring it around once a day. That's at the equator. The equator is spinning 1,000 miles an hour. All right. So when you're watching the sunset, you believe that you're falling over backwards faster than the speed of sound, and that's making the sun appear to go down.
Gotcha.
That's one of the crazy things I'm going to say today. Right? While you're spinning,
Hold on.
you're orbiting the sun, right?
I'm not touching
and,
mine. I just
and we're going faster, faster and slower.
Like a whip
Then we're
round.
on
It like
ellipse, we come around fast. So we're speeding up and slowing down at 66,600 miles an hour. It's a crazy number. That's what they say it is. So we're orbiting at that ridiculous speed, curving, which is not a straight line. If you're in a car with holding a plate of water going straight down a straight road and the car starts to turn, that water is gone.
yeah.
Okay. So we're doing that. And the sun is traveling at 500,000 miles an hour. It's flying through space at 500,000 miles an hour.
So the image
okay?
that David's showing everybody is this sun just literally catapulting through space, and every planet that's within our solar system circling around it like a carousel.
Spiraling through space. If you just go on YouTube and search a spiral solar system, you'll see this image. And that entire system is moving sideways through the universe at like 1 or 2 million miles an hour. Crazy,
Bloody hell.
ridiculous speed.
Just before you go too far, David, can I just this? So this is where things get a little bit, for me, the science that we are being told that image that you're showing us, that science is, in essence, is still theoretical. Because there is, again, like, along with a lot of other things, is not proof, but we get taught that, don't we? Am I right in thinking this? We get taught that because that is what mainstream science believes. But
This
then,
is what they teach us in school. This
Yeah.
is the science that they say is settled, and therefore we will never talk to flat earthers, says the high priest of scientism, Neil deGrasse Tyson, or Bill Nye, the lying guy with the bow tie. So they won't talk to us because they can't. Now they'll spend countless hours making videos about how flat Earth is stupid, highly edited, videos, and they'll do show after show after show how flat Earth is stupid. And they may even talk to a crazy actor that acts like a flat earther, but they'll never talk to any of us because they can't. Because every one of their arguments just falls apart. So we're whirling and twirling and swirling in 4 different directions, or maybe even 5 directions. Who the hell knows, right? All of these directions, and we have lakes that are perfectly smooth, perfectly reflective lakes. Remember that plate of water in the car, and the car starts to take a turn? How come the lakes aren't swelling? Neil deGrasse Tyson says at the equator, the water bulges out 14 miles high, but you can't notice it from space because 14 miles and the whole Earth, you barely notice that. But 14 miles high, if you're flying in an airplane from the north to the south, you're only flying at like 5 to 7 miles high. When do you climb over that extra 10 miles to get over the hump? When do you more than double your height to get over that hump of water that he says is there? And the answer is never, because the Earth is flat and we're not moving.
Okay.
You with me?
That's yeah, I'm following.
I'm with you with the idea. It's hard. Again, David, we've got to mention we have a purely audio podcast, so we're having
I'm
to
keeping
like
it- I'm keeping it descriptive. So, I'm showing a picture of some rock pyramids, cairns where you balance these rocks. Think if we were spinning and twirling and whirling and turning, how could any of this stuff be possible? How could a perfectly smooth lake be possible?
Is it not to do with the essentially the
Gravity.
gravitational atmosphere? That's what I'm asking this question. Like,
Yeah, no,
Is
no,
it
it's funny because
isn't it
we all say the
centrifugal
same
force?
thing. I mean, I know exactly what you guys are going to say.
Centrifugal force, I think, is what they call it. It's the same thing as you
Centrifugal
go on
force.
one of
You're
those
using
spin,
words that you don't know what they
when
are.
you spin on those things at the fairground and you stick to the wall because you're spinning around.
Yeah, that's centrifugal force. But the problem is we're on the outside of a ball. The ball's spinning, and we should be flying off the ball. We're not on the inside of the ball. So that's so that force should be.
that
spewing
does
this
make
ball.
more sense to me.
I know. I'm glad you said something. I'm
Only
glad you
because
said something.
I don't understand what gravity is meant to be. What you said
Hey,
makes
guess
more
what? That
sense to
doesn't make you
me.
stupid. Ben, that doesn't make you stupid because Neil deGrasse Tyson says we don't know what gravity is. We don't
Yeah,
know.
again, yeah,
We don't
just
know
a
what it
theory
is.
that we are taught
We don't know.
to
We don't
understand
know
is
how
the
it
truth.
works. Every test we've ever done to prove mass attracts mass
Yeah.
has failed. Okay. And as a matter of fact, because they have to make up dark matter, right?
Yeah.
Dark matter, which is like 96% of space, because they said because it has to be there or our gravity equation doesn't work. Okay. Now here's the problem. In our solar system, we have like with all the planets and moons, it's like 80 objects, and they're all going in their orbits and everything. So think about this heliocentric system. We have the sun, which has its giant ball of gas that somehow has this massive amount of gravity, and it's holding onto the Earth, and the Earth is going all the way around it from 93 million miles away, and the sun is holding onto the Earth, right? We also learned this in school. But the Earth is holding on to the moon, which is 238,000 miles away, and it's falling around the Earth, right? And the Earth's gravity is holding on to the moon.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So occasionally, once a month, the moon is directly in between the Earth and the sun. Okay. Why doesn't the sun's gravity rip the moon away and say, you're in my orbit now? Or why doesn't it even just tug the moon just a little bit? Because the sun's holding on to the Earth. Why doesn't it just pull the moon and just give it a little yank and make it just go into a different orbit? Here, I'll explain this better.
Okay.
There's a problem that NASA and scientists have. It's called the three-body problem. You could take the best supercomputer in the world. You can make a simulation program and say, all right, I got a ball this big, it's got this much gravity, and I got a smaller ball, and it's got this much gravity, and I could set them in orbit around each other, and boom, it works beautifully. And they could say, okay, in 10 years, where's that ball going to be? And it'll tell you exactly where it is. 10 years later, that's where it is. It works perfectly, and it's like a perfect simulation. Then they add a third body in, another planet, a moon, whatever, put it in orbit around one of them, and the entire model falls apart, never repeats itself.
yeah.
However,
this slingshot theory, I believe, is the
yeah. But however,
what it's called.
you go out tonight and look at where the stars are in the sky at 10 p.m. or midnight or whatever, and make a little chart. Next year, same night, 10 years ago, same night, same time, those stars are in the exact same position.
Would you
But according to
assume? Would you assume? Sorry, David. Would you assume that saying from 10 years to in a decade you would expect some sort of change? But at the same time, would you
in a day,
like
in a day, you would expect a change.
right? But what I'm saying is some of those do we just not understand how big space literally is, or
Or is the universe
This is mind
turning with
control
us?
question number 3B that you're asking. That space is so big that there's never any
Right.
parallax. That's ridiculous.
But I just wanted to throw that because I know that there's going to be someone somewhere listening in their car throwing
Common
that.
sense will tell you. I mean, we're in 1 year. I've 500,000 miles an hour times a year. Okay, that's how far we've gone in just one of the directions.
Right.
And all of the other stars and everything are supposedly flying in their own directions, doing their own thing, and none of them ever change. All of the constellations are exactly the same.
It's
Amazing, right?
Ben, I saw your eyes light up then.
Right. Because I don't understand, because I mean, they
But we
say
don't. We're not scientists.
Science of big things, don't they? There's a different
Yeah.
science. For big things. I'm not a scientist at any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah. So yeah.
So I don't
mean,
understand it. When you say something like that, I go, that makes sense. It's
Right, and
stretch
it's
your
it's the exact same as your science teacher going like, "Oh, here's a banana. That falls because of gravity." Like you're just going to go,
Well,
"All right, sir, cheers for that."
Yeah.
Like,
So let me ask you a question. I'm going to tell you why that falls. One of the reasons why it falls. But why does it fall through the air?
how do you through? What,
Why does if you have a basketball
yeah.
and you drop it, it'll fall.
Right,
And
right.
if you drop it over water, it stops on the top of the water.
Right, okay.
So why does it fall through the air and not through the water? Use your brains.
because there's air inside it, right? And the
There's air inside it, yeah.
Well, the basketball doesn't go through the water. Why?
Because it's the density of the density of the water is stopping it from
And why does
being
it fall
pulled.
through the air? Why does it fall through the air?
Because
They
the ball is denser than the air.
Yeah,
Yeah,
water,
yeah.
water is
Okay.
water is a liquid.
You
and
guys
air is
are,
gas,
hold on.
So...
You guys are officially scientists. That's it. Okay? You're officially scientists. You have a brain, you have common sense, and it makes sense. So here's the question you have to ask. It's like, well, why does it go down and not sideways? Okay?
Right.
Why does it go down and not sideways?
Not
But it all
Great
comes down to what we have been taught, that which is the issue which we were talking about with mainstream education is
Sure.
you are taught something for so long, you're conditioned to the idea that it is real. So this is where I am like very open to listening to other people's concepts.
Yeah.
And they sound wacky because you've been taught it your whole life, and then yourself, we speak to you for 5 minutes and we're already going, oh yeah, maybe that guy's right. It's that
Well,
kind
it's
of
outside. Yeah, it's outside of echo chambers. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've been indoctrinated into forced to believe. You know how you know that science is true? It's because they gave you an A.
Yeah.
Well, that's just because you memorized and
they didn't.
regurgitated. So that's good. No, that's good. So the thing is, what I'm showing you right now is you have your own common sense. They're training you that you have no common sense. They've indoctrinated you to think that you need them to make any rational decisions, and we're going to get into why they do that. So the air, the ball is denser than the air, but less dense than the water. Boom, it sorts itself. Buoyancy and density sort everything out. So you ever see those little triangle things they make out of tinfoil and they electrify them and they float up
Yes.
in the air?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're changing the electric charge of the foil, and it goes up. Well, why does an electric charge have anything to do with gravity? Gravity is a whole different thing.
Interesting,
I can't tell
yeah.
you what it is because nobody knows. And the answer is because the only real forces in this world are electricity and magnetism. And we're electric beings. The earth is electrical. The electricity in the air, it's measurable. Every meter you go up, it goes up 100 volts. Okay. So there's
Every
free
meter,
energy
100
everywhere.
volts.
It's 100. It's a
I don't.
I have
understand.
videos on
Yeah,
it.
I
I'm not the
understand it.
expert. I don't
I
want
was
to explain it. It goes up like 100 volts. That's a lot.
Yeah. I
But-
didn't get an A either. So.
1.21
Yeah, I don't know anything about
gigawatts.
electricity.
So let me finish this point. The point is,
Yeah.
the Earth has a measurable, not theoretical, negative charge to it. It has just a negative charge to it. So it has a negative charge. A negative charge attracts things. It's a weak force that just attracts everything downward. If you have an ionizer in a room and you put it out, it positively charges all the dust in the air, and all the dust falls to the floor, and then you can vacuum it up. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, is that
So-
so? That's why when we do electrics in a house, you have to earth the house, I guess, and then you use earth.
It has something to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again,
Okay.
I'm not the electric guy. We have people that study
Get
that
the
stuff
electric
in
guy
our
in the
group.
room. Send him the
Yeah.
invitation.
So,
We need
so,
electric
so
guy
the
now.
Earth has a negative charge. It has a weak downward force, just like they tell us gravity is a weak downward force. Okay, it attracts things down, and then buoyancy and density sort everything else out, and that's it. And we have maglev trains that are using magnetism to go up, and there's the secret space program. I call it the secret propulsion program. They're using electric anti. I don't want to say gravitic, but anti downward
So
force
there's
technology.
there's just a thing. Again, don't want to get into it too quickly, but there is always in these documentaries you see they're always straight away they discredit the flat Earth movement as people who come up with a concept and then change the platform of what. So, for instance, if they disprove flat Earth, you then come up with something else that then proves it again. But what you've just said there makes me think that about science, because you just said, oh, they came up with this one thing, and then they go, oh, well, how does that work? We have to come up with something else.
To move, to
Yeah.
connect it together.
They're the ones, they accuse us of everything that they do. It's amazing. You know, Neil deGrasse Tyson used to say, you know, you ever been in an airplane? You know, and then we showed that you can't see the curve from an airplane. He goes, well, you have to be in the Concorde. People in the Concorde, and you know, have seen the curvature.
That's why it's gone.
And we proved.
Is that why it's
No,
gone?
don't say
Is
that.
that why they got rid of Concorde?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why they grounded the Concorde. But the windows are curved on the Concorde, so you're seeing a curved window.
Oh.
Then they said, you know, you remember Felix Baumgarten with the Red Bull jump?
Yes.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
The Red Bull space jump, and he came down. He goes, you know, I was up high enough. I saw the curvature, and I don't believe, you know, some flat earthers think that he was a paid shill. I think that he just has he's wearing a helmet with a big curved glass on it.
Also,
I've just put my
also,
GoPro on widescreen, so you
I
can
was
see
just about
how
to say.
warped the GoPro is.
Yeah, I was
Usually-
just about to
And
say.
the picture that he shows of the Earth, you know, it's showing like the top third of the Earth with the big curvature, and it's all New Mexico. We could look and see the little lakes and the rivers. It's all New Mexico. So New Mexico doesn't cover a third of the Earth. So
I was just about to say what Ben said.
Yeah.
A lot of Red Bull stuff is usually sponsored by GoPro as well.
Yeah.
So it's probably the fact like check
Because
out our wide angle lens that curves everything.
Because at one point it looked like it was a dish. Do you know what I mean? It was like going in a different direct, like circling upwards, like because of
I'm gonna
curvature.
have
Well,
to say
when
now,
he opens
that
the
those-
door, the camera behind his head shows a level horizon at the camera level, right? And when he got in, when he was on the ground, if you overlay the land horizon, it's at the same height and the same level. So at 127,000 feet, the horizon is at the same level and the same flatness as it is when it's on the ground. But then when they show us the GoPro, it's a big curved thing. But he
that's
did
purely wide angle lens.
previous jumps before that, test jumps before they televised it. And the test jumps, they did not use GoPros. They used regular lenses, and everything was flat, and they changed it for the televised view. And we have footage of that.
Yeah, that would be exactly my thinking, because you can even look at the photograph that, for the listeners, David's got a photograph of the guy doing the jump,
Felix,
and
did,
it
yeah.
shows a curve of the Earth, but it looks like a GoPro footage.
Yeah.
But whether it's because
It
again,
totally is.
are we developed to believe that those kind of curves are usually from a GoPro? Like
Well,
I usually see.
You're gonna
It's not
always have
about
to use a
believing,
wide
it's
angle
about
lens
knowing.
or something like something
Belief
that
is
high.
the enemy
It
of
needs to be
knowing.
official,
We
I
sent
wanna-
cameras up to 127,000 feet without, or maybe this is 120, and it's flat. It's completely flat. Now, sometimes you'll see like, oh, I think I see a little curve, and that's because of visibility. You can't see that far. We can get
It's
into that in
lens
a little bit.
distortion as well. Is a big factor.
Lens distortion, and we can't see forever. If the Earth is flat, how come we can't all see Mount Everest? How come I can't see England? And the answer is a couple things. One, the angular size of Mount Everest at like a couple hundred miles away is so small, it just crushes into the horizon. And the other thing is you can't see through sideways. You know, when you look across the Earth plane, there's too much air. It's too thick, and it literally blocks the light.
And
There was
when you're because we're in simulation theory, it hasn't actually rendered in yet, so you can't. It's not actually there until
like a non-player
Yeah,
character.
yeah, exactly,
It's in
exactly.
post-processing, yeah.
I'm gonna go with that. So you know, you look at all NASA's rockets; they all curve out and go over the Bermuda Triangle, disappear, and you watch cartoons on TV.
Yeah.
It's all nonsense. But some guys in Arizona had the Go Fast rocket. They shot it up, and it went up super fast, straight up. It had camera looking down, a camera looking sideways, and then all of a sudden, it hit something, and it made the sound of like dropping a stone into a pond. It went plunk, like into a viscous liquid. Okay, so. Many of flat earthers believe that space is water. It could just be, this could have just hit a thicker medium, but when it turned on its side, we could see the moon. We saw the moon, right?
Right.
So we're like, oh, there's the moon. Wonder where the moon was during this. This is in Arizona. At the time of this launch, the moon was over Australia. Okay. And if you think about your globe, go look at your globe, go look at Arizona, and then go look at us, go look at Australia.
It's the other side.
And
of
you'd
Earth.
have to look through the Earth to be able to see it. Right. And the only way you can see it is if you get high enough where it's not compressed into the horizon and high enough where you're looking not through the density of the lower atmosphere. And this alone proves that the Earth is flat.
So
it's not a ball.
could you tell us just what you said there? Could you tell us? I'm presuming this has been posted and has been put public. Can you tell us the argument they had against that?
They won't argue. They won't even talk about it.
Okay, they don't have any rebuke over you.
None.
Okay,
they have none, other than it wasn't there. That wasn't the moon, and you zoom in on it.
That's what I was just about to ask. Is it absolutely the moon? Because I like the video that, for listeners again, what David has just shown us is a video footage of the camera on the side of the rocket going up, and there is, once it breaks the horizon and you can see space itself, there is a rather large dot.
And we zoom in on it. It's clearly there's no doubt it's the moon. It's 100%.
Because it's too. That size of a blur is too big for a satellite.
When you go up to those heights, and the funny thing is the sun's never above the balloon. It's always off to the side. Okay. It's always like, it looks like it's almost at the same height as the balloon. Getting into what the sun is, what the moon is, where they are, that's another discussion. Maybe we'll get into a little later, but we have plenty to go through. But when you look from these balloon shots at the sun, it doesn't look 93 million miles away. It's kind of right there, over the flat Earth. And when you also look at it, sometimes you can see a hot spot on the ground. Yeah. Like how could it be a hot spot, like a close local light?
Yeah. But again, I believe personally that is to do with the atmospheric, the atmosphere, because
the handling of the light as it passes.
The difficult aspect
and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, coming like me and Ben, when you're like doing a lot of videography, you do start to realize these things. Like Ben, that's what you do for a job. Like the more and more I do it, I start realizing it. But that, like, for instance, images like that, I think this is what a lot of people use against flat earthers to immediately discredit them, because we could have had that whole conversation we've just had there, and the first thing that they would have pulled up on is that what you've just said about it's this hotspot. Immediately that you would just be discredited and no one would listen to anything else about it. That's the.
So here's the thing: we can talk about stuff over our heads, and we can talk about stuff beyond the shoreline of Antarctica, and we're speculating because we can't really go there. This is as high as we can go, 127,000 feet. But and there's plenty. I think there's plenty of evidence there. But we can also look at what's below our feet, what's right here, what's testable.
Yeah,
and it's provable. But next time there's a large moon, full moon or close to full moon in the sky, and there's spotted clouds, go out and look. Get away from the city lights. Get away, if you go out in the water or in the woods or whatever. Yep. And what you'll notice is only the clouds that are right next to the moon are lit up by the moon. The other ones are dark. If the moon was 238,000 miles away, how is it going to light up just the clouds that are right near the moon?
It would flood.
That's fucking crazy, because David, you've just explained that. My mum lives in the west part of England, and there is little to almost no light pollution whatsoever. And of an evening, I used to go and stand out in the garden and have a cigarette. And I remember one time, like, it's fucking funny you say this, that this memory has just stuck with me, because I remember looking up into the sky and being like, man, there are so many damn stars everywhere. And I remember seeing the moon and there being just two clouds just in front of it, boom, boom, there and there. But and I remember sitting there thinking to myself, I was like, how the fuck in all of this area where I can see stars, there are just two clouds? Like, I don't know the science behind it or the geography, but I remember sitting there and just being like, so where's
I know what JJ is going to say. JJ, you have an objection, right?
I have an objection with
clouds because they're in line with the light that you're looking at.
It's
right?
the line that the light is being reflected back to you. It's not, you're not seeing but again, it comes into conflict with my arguments.
What you've been taught?
I've seen it. And we've done experiments where we hung cotton balls all over, and we had a highlight, and we tried to get below the light and have it just light up the cotton balls, but it lights all of them up. It floods the light. Daylight, sunlight, moonlight are all different things. Daylight and sunlight are different things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I get that.
You guys are photographers, so you know about backlighting. Think about this: the sun. You're at a house, right? And you're on the east side of the house, and all of a sudden the sun shows up on the horizon. It's morning. Great. As soon as the sun shows up, it's kind of light. You can go to the back side of the house, completely blocked by the sun, and you can read the newspaper.
Yeah.
All right. And that's because it's daylight. The sun is like a Tesla coil, and the sky is being what is it, when a Tesla coil lights something? I'm losing the words. It's literally fluorescing the gases in the sky. You know, there's lots.
Oh
of
yeah,
nitrogen up
igniting
there
the
with
gases. Yeah,
fluorescent-
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's fluorescing it. So you see the light, the daylight, and as the sun moves away, you lose that light, and it just becomes black. I'm trying to find a picture. There's a picture where we have the sun off to the side, and there's daylight over there, and then it's dark on the other side, and there's nothing separating them other than distance. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
So then people say, well, why wouldn't it be light the whole time? Because on a flat Earth, the sun is close. The sun is close to the Earth, and as the sun moves away, it just goes farther and farther away. And I have an example here where I have some clouds, and they're spotted clouds. But as you look at them in the distance, they get lower and lower to the horizon, and they get closer and closer together, and they actually become opaque at an apparent horizon. And as the sun just moves beyond them, it looks like it's setting below a horizon, but it's just going past an atmospheric deck of opacity, I call it. Okay, so here's a fence. You know, there's a fence, and there's a person's on the just walking away beyond the fence, and their head sets as they go beyond the fence, right? Because you're down lower.
Okay.
If I was above those clouds, I would be able to see the sun. So on a super clear day, I'm going to describe what I'm showing here. I put my drone up on a super clear day, 4K drone camera, and I'm watching the sun, and it went from a good distance off the horizon. In 5 minutes, it went down, 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 and then it went right to what looked like the horizon. I call it the apparent horizon because there is no real horizon. And it sat there for 10 minutes, right? It went down, 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 and then it sat there, and it didn't go down any further. So that proves we're not spinning, and then it just disappeared into the thickness.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to show it again. It literally just faded into nothing, where its light could not push through the density of the atmosphere.
So
Okay?
my argument against that as a videographer would be that the time that it's taking for the light to come to the actual lens is the light refracting off the atmosphere. So that where it disappears would be essentially it reflecting off the light off the Earth. So
I have to disagree with that. I get you.
This is interesting to sit here because I'm not
When you
aware
watch
of this.
the whole video, you'll watch the sun go down, 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 and if the Earth was spinning, it's just going to keep going down. It has to go at the same speed, 15 degrees per hour, but it doesn't do that. It moves about 15 degrees per hour throughout the day, and then it's just down, and it stops when it gets to this point.
It
Now, my
looks like
friends
it
were at
gets
the-
smaller, though. I'm not going to argue.
It also
does look
gets
like
smaller.
looks like it gets smaller. So
It also does get smaller, and that's a big argument that people have. They say, you know, if the Earth was flat and the sun was going around, the sun would get smaller and smaller, right? So
Yeah.
Paul McCartney, the fool on the hill, sees the sun going
Full
down.
circle
but
to
the
our
eye-
our first episode.
Oh, full circle, synchronicity. We've done it.
Okay. So the sun just goes away, and so there's films, there's videos of the sun in high arid, super dry places with super clear air, and you see the sun just literally disappear as it just goes away and gets smaller and smaller.
okay.
So again, you don't see any of this until it's already too late. From the ground, it's already set. My friends were at the beach. They saw the sun set from the bottom up 10 minutes earlier, and I'm still watching the sun from 3 miles away because I'm just at a little bit of altitude, and I could see the sun, and it just sat there for 10 more minutes.
Okay.
So amazing stuff.
Is
So
that,
I'm going to show you guys. Listen, I'm
does
gonna-
that not prove the curve? Because you're higher up. That means you can see further over the bed.
So that's Bill Nye controlled question, pre-programmed questions for 4.
That's a hell of a name.
So when you're looking at things in the distance, they get smaller and smaller, and then you're told that if you stand up, you can see the sun again. You can see things that are farther. That's not true. When you're down on the floor, looking down across a room, If you stand up, you can see farther because you're just increasing your angle view
Right.
of something.
Right.
So the angle of something gets smaller and smaller and smaller. People say, what about boats over the horizon? You know, I'm showing boats here and mountains that disappear when we zoom out. Like when you look at these at boats, you know, look, you can look at an empty horizon, zoom in with our super zoom cameras, and there they are. There's boats that we already saw disappear, but you zoom in and you bring them back into view.
Yeah, I understand. I've understood that for a lot. I think that was probably the first thing that introduced me to flat Earth, and I remember looking at that and being like, yeah, that kind of I don't know, tugs at me.
Yeah, they've not disappeared over the horizon. They're just the pixels are too small to show up on.
But they
camera.
look like they disappear because when you watch, the bottom disappears first. And then they literally look like they sink into the horizon because the bottom is the lowest angle that you can see. Here's an experiment we did. Think about this.
Put a camera. This is making far too much sense.
Yeah, we put a camera on the floor. So we put our iPhone on the floor, right, with the camera on the lower part, and at a Home Depot. And we put a red brick right in front of it, so it filled the whole screen.
Mm-hmm.
Then we dragged that brick down the hallway, and the brick got smaller and smaller. Just, you know, it just moves away, and it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And it got to a point. This is on a smooth cement flat floor. It got to the point where the camera couldn't see it anymore. So then we lift the camera up, we can see it. We bring it down, it disappears again. Then we stack 3 bricks on top of it. The camera's down and it could see the top 3 bricks, but not the bottom brick. And if we dragged it further, the second brick would disappear.
I'm intrigued to see this video.
So this is essentially the argument against the argument against the atmospheric
interference.
Not atmospheric, but the pixelation distortion of the flat. So
well,
are you saying that the pixels between the ground and the object are essentially getting more blurred?
They're getting blurred. There's a lot of things. When you're looking over water, you get what we call, if you're looking over water, there's a couple things. You have a mirror line. That's where the angle becomes literally level with your eye, and you're just mirroring, and things are going behind that, what we call the mirror line. Then there's called the wave front edge line. It's where a small wave in the foreground is just covering up things in the background. Like a small 2-foot wave can hide an entire city line.
Why does nobody do any experiments? Just fucking sack the water off. Just get rid of the water. Let's just do it on like grass.
We've done it
maybe
over
not
ice.
grass.
We've done it over ice, and guess what? We can see over frozen lakes.
Okay.
Where can people access this particular video, David? Because this intrigues me.
I have. All right. So now I'm going to show you my app, and I'm going to explain a few things. It'll be very descriptive for the people listening. But if you want to learn about flat Earth, this is the app. This is the thing. Oh, this is it. He's in it for the money. The app is
there we go.
Yeah, here's the motive. So let me tell you why.
Speaking of it for the money, David, can we get a promo code for your app that we can give to our users?
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah,
I'll give you guys all free downloads.
Oh, thank you.
All right. So listen. So here's the deal. I made the app because I'd be talking to people about flat Earth, and they're like, "What?" And I was like, "I wish I had a little animation or something." So I made this app. I loaded it on my phone in test flight, and I wasn't even going to publish it. But every person that saw it goes, "Where can I get that app?" So I made the app, and then I started selling the app, and the app actually cost me a lot of money. You know, we're talking 5 figures, not in the low 5 figures, and
good for you, by the way.
And I have to work on this thing every single day.
I missed all of that, by the way. My audio just went out. Sorry.
It's all right. So the bottom line is, I left my own company. I had my dream job. I never thought I could have my own company. I had my own company, a couple partners, and I was doing very well, making very, very good money. Okay, very good money. And I walked away from it all when I realized how important this message is to get out, and that my app could actually support me.
Yeah.
Minimally. So I'm happy as could be. So I'm going to tell you about it. And listen, you can also get all of this stuff for free online. It just won't be as fun and easy. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to tell you. So we talked about, we're going to cover a bunch of things.
And this is the app.
Can you guys
this is your app.
make that big on the screen so everyone can see it?
See that?
Okay. As well, yeah, we've got audio listeners, Dave. So if you would be,
no, I'm going to explain it.
Thank you.
So again, we have the pond, the world pond, and the sun and the moon go around. They circle around the world pond, and the sun goes around once every 24 hours. So you have to think of the world pond as a giant clock face.
Yeah.
And the sun goes around once every 24 hours. Wherever the sun is, it's noon. So the sun keeps track of the hours and the days. And the sun laps the moon once every 28 days. The moon's going a little bit slower than the sun. So the sun laps the moon and shows how you have all of its phases. So the moon phases and the position keep track of the weeks and the months. Okay.
Yep.
And then
Hold on, you
the
said moons,
stars-
not months, didn't you?
moons. They used to be called moons, and they changed it to months.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know what? And they also said, hey, we're going to give them clocks, but we better make the clock go around twice a day so they don't figure out what the hell's going on here. Okay.
Jeez.
So the stars are on another wheel. There's several wheels in the sky, and they keep on turning.
Right.
Okay. And the stars are going slightly faster than the sun, so slightly that they only lap the sun once a year. So the sun will move into each zodiac for about a month, and the zodiac behind will catch up for the next month and the next month, and it takes a year. That's why when you go out, next year, same night, same time, the stars are in the exact same position. So the stars keep track of the seasons and the years. The sky is a perfect clock. In the helio-nonsensical, spinning, crazy insanity world, it makes no sense. And if you there's a world time where it shows you all the time zones. So it shows you what time it is in all parts of the world at all the time. So if you ever want to call any friends, it has a compass on it that shows you really how a compass works. The north is at the center of the flat earth. East and west are circles around flat earth. Okay. So when you want to go circumnavigate the world, let me explain that. If you're in California, or let's say you're in New York and you want to go east, east is a circle around the center, because if you hold the compass out, it has to point towards the center the whole time. So to dead reckon 90 degrees, you're going to go in a circle and you're going to end up back where you started from. That doesn't prove the earth is a globe or a flat earth, because you could do it on both. You can also go from the United States, you could head north, and as soon as you pass the North Pole, you're heading south, and all of a sudden you're in Japan.
That was always a question that I always wondered. Like, if you keep going east, like when I was younger, people always say like East Asia.
Right.
So if you carry on going to East Asia and then you go
circle.
past East Asia, where are you going? Are you still going east? You go into like
East is a circle. So
Okay.
So I'll show you when we get out of the app. I'll show you exactly how it works.
That's
Yeah, I
like
mean that
crazy.
does
the
make
last thing
perfect
on the
sense.
get out of the app, but if you hit the question mark on the app, all the questions you guys are going to ask are here. Hey, what about eclipses, or what
yes,
about
that was the next question I was going to ask.
southern flights, or why the lie?
That's
and
the
if you
main
click any
one.
one of these up, we're going to get to that. It comes up a list of videos that Google will not serve you. Right, so it gives you all of the stuff. What about boats over the horizon? And it'll show you all the boats over the horizon stuff, and it'll show you what about
That's brilliant,
sunsets. To see the sunsets, I can talk about sunsets. That's easy, and you can kind of get the picture. But when you see it, you're like, oh Jesus, I've been fooled my entire life. I'm such a moron. It has tons of other information, other conspiracies. We have the beer bug information. Okay. Biblical flat earth, bottom right, mud floods, flat earth music, all sorts of
What's
stuff,
mud
different
floods?
languages. And here's what I tell people. Every day there's a new video, featured video, short ones during the week, longer ones on the weekend. I say, take the Flat Earth app challenge. Click that button every day for 2 weeks, and then you too will lose the respect of your family and friends, because you become a flat earth.
Savage. Jeez,
So
don't
what
be
people
like that
say
on
is-
yourself, David.
People say, hey, I took your app challenge, but I didn't want to wait. So I clicked that archive button right next to the featured video, and up comes a list of all of the videos that were on this month that you can go back and watch. Or if you click the little hamburger at the top, all of the previous months. So there's 30 some odd videos in each one of those. And they call me, they send me an email like, I haven't slept in 2 days. My family wants to
If you haven't slept in
Wow.
2 days,
Yeah.
watch this video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here's some meditation
And,
music for them.
And that's that.
Flat
So-
Earth rap.
It's called the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. And if you want to learn about Flat Earth, it's $2.99. And the one other thing is, people love the app so much. Just read the reviews, you'll see. And that they said, Dave, can you put a donation button on there? But Google doesn't allow you to put a donation button on there. So I put a subscription button on there. You don't have to subscribe. It pops up once a day. You can exit out immediately, and there's no ads, and you still get everything.
Hey,
so
good.
no worries.
Don't tell Google. Good for you, man. That's I love it when people do that.
So that's how that works, and that'll really, like I'm pointing to a bunch of doors. You guys are thinking, just like what's going to come up on the app
And-
next. You click it. You can click the
And
question
to our
button.
listeners, even if you don't believe what David's saying, like support the man in his journey, buy his app.
Give the app a go.
Give $2.99, man. Like,
How about this? I'm going to support your listeners. You guys know what Bitcoin is, right?
Oh, sure, yeah.
yeah.
Yep. So I've known about Bitcoin for a while, and I have a couple Bitcoins, and I'm offering one.
Especially today.
I'm
Hit
offering
30 grand.
$40,000.
$40,000, yeah.
£30,000.
So I'm
Oh, yeah.
offering a Bitcoin to anybody that can supply me with one proof of the globe.
One
Just
rebuttal.
one.
What? Well, that's 40 grand.
One
guys.
proof of the globe.
That's
But
$40,000.
before you, by the time they get it, well, they're never going to get it. The prediction for Bitcoin is $240,000 by the end of 2021.
Yeah.
Damn.
Right?
And Ben's
So-
kicking himself.
Nah,
So,
I brought loans
so
a couple of weeks ago, so I'm all right now.
Sorry, David.
one of my co-hosts, a bunch of years ago, bought some weed with Bitcoin. He spent 2 Bitcoin on less than an ounce of weed.
I
What
brought
a
it.
fucking moron.
And he's no longer a co-host. Look, that guy.
Sorry, Ben, go on.
I
So-
did the same. I
so-
sold it.
So before you send me your pre-programmed answers, go to the question mark, see if your question's there, watch the video. You'll realize, oh, it was answered there, and try to come up with another one.
And just for our listeners, David, and yourself, I just want to say a shout out to OG Socks, who
Yes, of course.
yeah, they
OG Socks are
OG
sponsors.
Socks. Maybe they could do a flat Earth sock. Just throwing it out there.
Do their own little season for one.
Yeah, I was gonna say do
Have
a
them reach out.
do a
And anybody that wants to, if anyone has a show or a sponsor, info@theflatearthpodcast.com. But keep your message direct to the point, because if you send me a novel, I'm just not going to read it. I don't have
So,
the time.
well, the code is NAC, by the way, for OG Socks. So
Yeah.
if you want to get some cheap socks, NAC.
Is it
Cheap socks are good socks that are inexpensive.
Exactly. And these are very comfy, inexpensive socks.
Yeah.
And we're not just saying that; they stupidly are comfy. Like,
They keep
ridiculous.
your feet on a flat Earth.
Hey, JJ.
Have you got? Is it? Are you open for questions now?
Absolutely, 100%.
Brilliant.
Cool.
I know this is on the app, but I think our listeners really want to know this, and because we're technically a conspiracy podcast.
Right.
Yes.
Why hide it? Why hide the flat
Why
Earth?
hide it?
That's the for me.
It's a
That is,
grand question.
that's
Yes.
that's the main
It's
question.
the question every intelligent person asks.
It's the
So-
It's the
Bitcoin
best
cat
question.
Yeah.
And
It's the
JJ
most
walks
important
away.
question because why all of this?
Yeah.
So you have to understand how big the lie is, because even flat earthers don't even realize how big the lie is. All space agencies are only about proving that they want you to believe you live on a globe. School, all children's programming, all movies, all television shows, they're all globe programming. Global network news. There's globes everywhere. Does anyone have a globe in their house where they are right now?
I wish
No,
I did. I wish I had one that I could keep my whiskey bottles in.
next-
That's
time you
exactly
see
why. The
globe.
only reason I'd have one. Keep
Next
whiskey
time
in
you
it.
see a globe, if you're in a store and you see a globe, grab it, turn it upside down, and read the sticker on the bottom. It
Oh.
says, for decorative purposes only, not for educational purposes only. Because they don't want people trying to go from South America to Africa and think that they're going to get there in 2,000 miles and realize it's 8,000
And
miles.
it's the same with
die.
it's the same with like an earbud, isn't it? If we use them for our ears and shit, but if you read the box, it tells you not to stick them in your ears.
Yeah.
Then
Can I-
Yeah.
Can I just
Sorry.
ask you a serious question, David?
Yeah.
Other
Like
than that one.
And I was real. We were
You
discussing
really
this.
ask a serious question?
Yeah, I really didn't want to not agree with what you're saying, and I do, which is fantastic. Do you really believe that that's why they put that sticker on the bottom?
I believe that they're doing it because they don't like to lie. They always tell us the truth. They always tell us, like when NASA says they want to go to outer space, they do. They want to go to the outer space across flat Earth. They want to go to see the extra terra out there, extra land,
Right.
extra territory extraterrestrials.
So that's what
Okay?
that when we first started speaking, that's what I genuinely do believe about everything that we know now. I believe that people are always just trying to search further, but they're trying to find it out before anyone else does. So, like, do you feel this is just an idea that I had, but do you feel that, and it's the same with all the podcasts we have, do you feel that they're laughing at the fact that people are still talking about it because they're so far past it that it's just like, let the little people argue over that little round thing that we told them about thousands of years or hundreds of years ago. Let them deal with that because we've got bigger things past the ice now. Like, who cares?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
We're gonna get into why the lie, but you just brought up something. Another belief that you have. Belief is the enemy of knowing.
yeah.
That comes from Crow 777 Radio, an amazing podcast, 2 hours in Crow. That, well, wait, I just lost my train of thought.
Belief is
You
the
said
enemy
that.
of knowing.
Ask your question again. I just had they got me.
I
They just-
feel. I said that I feel that the people who have the money and the people I don't want to say they. I hate saying like quote
I got
unquote
it.
they.
I remember.
Okay,
I remember.
sorry.
I remember. So you said that the thing that they told us hundreds of years ago, false. Everybody in the early 1900s
Yeah.
knew the Earth.
Knew the Earth was flat. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
100 years ago.
Yeah.
So I interviewed a woman named Ruth, in January of 2020. She's 102 years old, and I was interviewing her about the mud floods or actually about the world's fairs, which have to do with the mud floods. And she was remembering, details from when she was 5 years old. And I said, "Where did you go to school when you were 5?" And she told me the name of the school, the street it was on, the teacher's name of her kindergarten teacher, kids in her class. So, like, I can't remember that from freaking high school. I said, "What did they teach you about Earth? What did they teach you in science about Earth?" And I never mention flat Earth to her. And she looks at me, she goes, "They taught me the Earth was flat, but then they changed it years later." This is in a school in Connecticut, right where I live. And
That's fascinating.
and I was like, so we found another woman in Croatia who said in the 1930s, everyone in Croatia was taught the Earth was flat.
Yeah.
And we found newspaper articles on microfilm talking about, teachers are being persecuted for trying to teach heliocentrism. So this takeover happened, in the early 1900s. We had all these world wars and depression, and they're literally destroying, artifacts. What's the first thing that the U.S. did when we went to Iraq in that ridiculous war? We went right into the museums and we took artifacts to protect them. No, we took stuff that
Burn the books.
We took stuff that they don't want us to find. They're constantly, destroying and hiding the true story of our past, because if people understood our past, then they'd realize we're not at the pinnacle of civilization here, and we're being, gatekept.
That
why the
makes
lie?
sense.
Let's get into why the lie.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Why there isn't any sort of proof of like these civilizations, and when they do find the truth, it's because it was destroyed by a massive
There's so
flood.
much proof, and it's right in front of your face. You walk by it every day. There's buildings that were supposedly built, in the 17 and 1800s that we couldn't even build today. You look at these things, like they built them when they had horse and buggies.
Yeah.
We'd have a hard time with the largest cranes on earth building these
Yeah, the
things.
pyramids especially.
I've always said
pyramids,
that about the
Go
pyramids.
find some old churches, just something, old churches and stuff. They all have domes and towers, which is technology. It's not just
And
architecture.
I say that to people when I talk to them about the idea of the pyramids. Like, I've been lucky enough to go there myself, and even before me and my dad got there, I sat there and was like, humans didn't build them. And I've always said it. And as soon as he arrived and he physically saw them with his own eyes, he was just like, there's no way in hell.
Yeah, and you look at
humans with the understanding of our world didn't build them.
Right.
But humans that understood what the world was may have had the ability to manipulate large things back like that. They
It's
don't.
still
So here's why the
questionable.
lie.
Yeah, it's still questionable, isn't it? Yeah.
Why the lie is they don't want us to know what true power we have. They don't want us to know that we are at the center of creation, that we are spiritual beings. We are having a soul's experience here in this realm, simulation or not, doesn't matter. Very well might be a simulation. But we're having this experience here, and we have the ability to where our thoughts create our reality. Everything you guys have in your life, every listener that's listening, everything you have is because of your thoughts. Your thought form, your thought wavelength has attracted the life that
And has
you are experiencing
resulted
right
you
now.
in being where you are today.
Exactly 100%. And they don't want us to know that. They want us to think that they have dominion over us, that we have to bow down to them and follow their rules. We don't have to do anything. This entire corona bug thing would be over if everybody just opened up their businesses and said, fuck you. I'm going out. I'm not wearing a mask. I have yet to wear a mask. I do not wear a mask ever. Okay. I will not wear a mask, and I hold my position. And I'm able to, and still function. It's not getting easy.
So
But,
I have two questions for you. Maybe this is a little bit further. I don't know, but
go ahead.
what is your belief that is beyond the ice wall? Like,
And I think these are both from Huxley, aren't they? From the Discord.
Oh, I
Their
don't
question
know.
that-
I don't know.
Yeah,
he's asked them,
Hux.
but yeah.
Yes. So thank you,
Okay,
Huxley.
okay.
So again, as I said before, some flat earthers like, you don't ever say that. I love to speculate. Again, we're not allowed to go there.
It's why we're
Some
here.
people think that there's a dome that we're inside and there's no way to get out, and we're in this Truman Show enclosure.
That for me, if you'd come on the podcast and that was your belief, I probably would have just switched off straight away. That to me,
but that's
just
not
sounds
my
like
belief.
absolutely.
That's not my
yeah,
belief.
I know. Yeah,
I believe that there's other lands and other suns out there. Perhaps. So we live in the center, right? And then there's a ring around us, which is Antarctica. It's thousands of miles, a couple thousand miles. And then beyond that is another ocean, okay, where other continents are, and there's another sun. That sun might be Mars, okay?
Never
And
thought
that
of that.
moon
Yeah.
might be Venus. Right?
So I'm guessing that the just for the listeners at home, David's brought up a graphic, which is I believe the Egyptian gods Set and Anubis, Ya and Ya, and then I can't see the other ones. I don't know why I'm doing this to try and look underneath that.
Let me take a little. Let me give you guys something to look at. My YouTube channel is the initials for Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. It's just DITRH, and if you search on YouTube, DITRH, the outward flow of civilizations. Okay. The outward flow of civilizations, and I have the theory, and there's a lot of evidence. All of the Mayans and the Aztecs, all these civilizations just picked up and left. Where the fuck did they go?
Yeah.
Well, perhaps. What if they lived in the center, and their sun, which was Mars, is circling around, and Mars is just oscillating in here and keeping this entire area melted, and then one day it just moved outwards, and it no longer came closer to the center, and it was making a bigger circle, and the entire center froze over. Okay. So all of the warmness is out here. So they all move outwards, and there's a new ice shield in here. And then a new sun is born under a star. That sun might, any nomads that are left there, the sun shows up a couple of years later, decades or whatever, and everyone's like, my savior. Okay. The sun, the SUN.
Yeah.
And it melts out another puddle. So we have our sun here, and we wouldn't even know about that civilization out there except folklore, except, maybe some stories would have made it, or if somebody was smart enough to write things in stone, which I was like, oh, look at those ancient civilizations.
It's certainly a
They
more
wrote
interesting story.
It is.
Like, it's a certainly
Right.
more interesting way of thinking of that things. And it's
Yeah.
probably because it's new. It's a new way of thinking. For
Right.
me.
And there might be another ring outside of that with Jupiter and Saturn as the sun.
Okay.
Like Ben said, I can get along with this. It's an interesting concept, and nothing is
Watch
right
my
now.
video. It's called The Outward Flow of Civilizations.
Yeah.
Just look for that on YouTube. DITRH, The Outward Flow of Civilizations. It's 20 minutes. It's myself and Sophia Smallstorm. There's visuals in it, and that'll just open up your mind to possibilities. Now, some other people might think that there's other puddles out there with their own suns, right? And their
Right.
own domes. So multi-dome across the plane.
Same
Why
concept
does-
as a multi-dimension, as far as I'm
Why are
concerned.
all of the
Yeah.
largest telescopes on Earth, two things about them in common? They're owned by the Vatican, and they're all in the deep south,
And what
not
was the story?
underneath the ball. They're all
Telescopes.
as far south as we have, and they're all looking south, which is outwards. They're not looking up; they're looking out. They're all looking out south. South is every direction away from the center.
So this then I think probably goes on to aliens.
This is where I'm.
I call so aliens and extraterrestrials.
Yeah,
People
extraterrestrials.
intermix those words.
Okay.
and I say that
But-
aliens, I like to separate them.
Yeah.
Aliens are multidimensional, could be demons, they could be invisible.
Mm.
Extraterrestrials are human. They're probably look exactly like us, and there's a good chance they speak English. Okay.
Yeah.
And they're coming from the extraterra out there on a day flight away,
And
right?
yeah.
And they know the way in and out.
And
And
this
maybe
is,
they travel daily.
and so
Fuck.
this connects to stories that I've heard about before, because David making a very good point that aliens and extraterrestrials completely different. We hear of stories of from the 1700s, these stories have occurred where children have been coaxed out of forests to go and speak to entities that look like humans, have blonde hair and stuff, and that they're inside of mountains. And it was like these witnesses were saying that they were brought into something that looked like us to a degree, but didn't. But everything was very similar to what she used to perceive her life as, but things were ever so slightly different. This kind of, I don't know, I can bridge this with that as well.
So you have your outward, civilizations across the earth plane.
Yeah.
We have a dome above us, right? The first page of the Bible, it says God separated the waters from the waters and made a firmament. And so if you know anything about primary water is there's water below the earth, massive amounts. It's just oceans and oceans of water. And Gaddafi found that and was pumping it all over Africa before we took him out and blew it up. So there's water in space. So space is not an infinite vacuum. And, perhaps there's these bubbles all across the plane. I don't know. Again, speculation. It makes a hell of a lot more sense than the heliocentric thing. And then aliens, and extraterrestrials. Extraterrestrials are just like us. They're here. They look like us because they're living on this earth plane. We are connected to the earth. I don't believe that we can live off the earth. There's test pilots from the 60s and 70s they said when they got to these high altitudes, they lost consciousness. One of them said he could see through his eyelids. All weird things started happening. It's because we're electrical and we need to be connected, have a connection to the earth.
Yeah.
And then if you think about stars, like what the frig are stars and planets? Well, our optics have outgrown their lives where we can zoom in on stars. And this is a video of Arcturus. We're zoomed in on it. It's pretty damn crisp. Some people say it's out of focus. I don't care if it's out of focus or not. This is
if I saw that, I'd
Arcturus.
freak my fucking shit.
And every star is different. If we look at the star Capella, it looks nothing like what NASA shows us, right?
That had an orb in the middle, the last one.
Colors and geometric shapes, all of these things are within the Earth system. They're all connected to us. I believe, this is my personal belief, and many even flat earthers think I'm insane, that stars are souls, and that we take turns having experiences here in these avatar meat suits in this electromagnetic realm that we're living in.
See, I can get behind that. Like I've always perpetuated, life's too fantastic for it to just not be as how.
And it would be a very romantic thing to believe. Like I would like to. In an essence, I do believe that. Spiritually, I do believe that, but I don't necessarily believe it's a visual thing, but I do get that.
I believe that our bodies have a main soul that has a mission.
Yeah.
And we also have a family of souls within us, and these souls live in us. To think of them as tiny little people that are living within us. It's kind of weird. And souls are they can never die, and they have these. They're having this experience here. They came here with a journey, and the more you align with your soul's journey and listen to your soul, which is your spirit talking to you, if you can get all the clutter out of your head, the better you line up with your soul, the better of a life you're going to have, the healthier you're going to be.
The more content you are.
If you're in disalignment with it, that you literally become stressed and you become depressed,
self-destructive.
The documentary, the documentary with Keanu Reeves called The Matrix, right?
Yeah.
Remember at the beginning, he was kind of depressed. He's just like, something's wrong, like something's weird with the world, and he's trying to figure it out. Well, that's within all of us because our soul knows that what this realm is, right? So let me. We're gonna.
Sorry, just to interrupt, David. I do want to interrupt here. The funny thing is about most listeners these days listening to what you're saying now is more believable than what you're saying now, which is it's not. I believe that what you're saying, but it's more hilarious that people will believe that than the idea that because it sounds what we talk about now sounds fantasy. Like I believe what you're saying now. I do believe
I get what
that.
JJ's saying.
Yeah, but the idea that the Earth is flat is just because somebody you're higher has told you, oh no, it's round. Like I'm commending you for what you're saying.
Yeah, like
So when you don't understand where you live, you know, to believe in the heliocentric model, you have to believe that you're spinning out of control, lost in an infinite vacuum where an asteroid could take you out at any moment. You're on a prison planet, you're running out of resources, and you're insignificant, you have no meaning, versus understanding that you are at the center of creation and that you have these powers and nobody has dominion over you.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. Before I discovered the Earth was flat, I was Mr. Science, Mr. Evolution. The best word to describe my religious beliefs were atheist. Okay, and I was just living my life, and I was a good person. So, you know, if you're an atheist and you're a good person and you obey karmic God's law, which is don't kill anybody, don't steal from anybody, just don't be a prick.
Yeah.
Then I have no problem with that. But So when I discovered that the Earth was flat, it's not the shape. It's like, oh, it's not a random accident. It's intelligently designed. There's a creator. Okay, wherever you take that, wherever you want, there's a creator that created this world, and I'm having this experience in here. So there is meaning to my life. I have power, and I was like, that's not why I got into it, but I'm like, wow. And so that changes everything. And and again, my co-host is a Bible guy. And if you told me I was going to do a podcast called The Flat Earth Podcast and my co-host was going to be a Bible guy back then, I'd be like, you're out of your friggin' mind. Right. But he just told me of a verse in the Bible that basically says that it says, if you see my creation, which is the flat earth, then there's no denying my existence, which kind of makes sense, right? The earth is intelligently designed. You see it, then you can no longer deny it. But if the earth is a heliocentric ball, you can say, God created this heliocentric world and he created millions of worlds and you have a distant God in your universe and you're okay, that's fine. But there's a lot of people, a majority of people that are like, I don't know about that. And therefore, you know, so the bottom line is they're hiding God. Because if everyone woke up to the flat earth tomorrow, all governments would lose all of their power. It would all be over.
Yeah, it's like I was going to say as well, like the one day that aliens would, if like an alien or a spacecraft would land with, extraterrestrial would land. Reality as we know it, like it's almost like everything would self-implode. Everything you know and what you understand, most 99% of the people on the planet would literally just lose their mind, their eyeballs fall out their ass, sort of thing,
on the plane. Use the right words, on the plane. Extraterrestrials
on the plane for you, right? But but you understand the point I'm putting across. Everyone,
I do. I'm just busting balls.
No, you're good too. You're good too.
To be fair, David, like this is literally all we do is bust each other's balls all the time. So this has probably been
it's one of the reasons to live is to bust other guys' balls.
Yeah. It's probably been the most like intellectual podcast we've had.
Yeah. But to end what David was saying, but to end what David was saying again, like going back to like the idea of souls within the body and stuff like that. Why is spiritualism in so many different aspects like just like accepted? Like, and the idea of, oh, you've got a soul inside you and and this, and we're channeling each other's energy. Like we relatively accept, like might sit there and go, that ain't for me, but yeah, each to your own, well done. But yet the idea of the earth being flat is still just as fantastic, but everyone is just like, get the fuck out of here with that.
And it's definitely something that angers people as well, the flat earth, the theory of, even if you mention it.
Nobody likes having their ball taken away.
Bang, yeah. So
taking away a ball from a child.
One thing you were just saying there about, obviously I could still hear you when I went to the toilet, but
we heard you also.
Yeah.
What can I say? I've got a very heavy flow.
Is it gravity though that's pulling?
No, it's the pure pressure. I'm just cutting through the Earth's core. One thing that you mentioned about about God and stuff, like the idea of a God or a creator, was, and it actually ties in quite well with the flat Earth. If you were to make something, what would be the best surface to make it on? It would be flat, right? You wouldn't try and make a fucking sculpture on a basketball, would you? You would try and make it on a flat Earth. You would try and then So it then goes into the extraterrestrial what's the other one? What was the other one that Huxley talked?
Interdimensional. Is it?
No. The one that's I can't remember what it was. We'll find out.
Hold on. Yeah, I'll have a quick read.
It would make perfect sense to create your canvas on a plinth, like i.e. a flat surface, and then maybe just go away on vacation and come back and see what's happened, and like dependent on time and things like that, which we as humans have created, which is why I don't believe massively in science, is because we created it, and you know how many things humans fuck up, so it's just like let's just, we'll leave it a couple of thousands of years, they'll change their minds and all that shit. It's starting to be more believable. Like, more believable. But one of the things that I said to these guys was, I understand why people are so passionate about it, but what you said about spirituality, to me, is people should be putting more time into that than caring whether the earth is flat or round. Like, no offense to yourself, but I believe that people should be putting more time into caring about other people and caring about ourselves and our spirits and all that.
The evil cabal of this world doesn't want that. They want us divided. Yeah. They want us materialistic. Yeah. They want us, living for ourselves and not caring about anyone. That's what they want. Yeah. That's how they control us. They want us living in fear because fear lowers your ability to manifest.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
So getting you can manifest anything that you want in this life. It's amazing.
Yeah. But so the law of attraction essentially is what?
Essentially, yeah.
But I want to get back to the why. Why do they want to keep? I know. I guess the spirituality question does kind of answer.
Well, they don't want us to know our power. Yeah. They want to be able to control us. And if we all knew that we lived in this realm, nobody would pay attention to government. They would be done. Actually, they'd be hanging from light poles.
Do you believe? So one thing that I picked up on in my own thoughts about flat Earth, and I'm sure it's probably come up a million times in your company, but do you believe that if they tell you that you're suspended on a ball in space, it basically means you're confined to that? Like you mentioned earlier on about Prison Planet. Like
you're lost spinning in space, out of control, and you have no foundation.
So do you? God, it's so difficult to speak about because there's so many things that are like so many conflicting concepts. But do you believe if they said, "All right, guys, we've lied to you, the Earth is flat," you can freely roam wherever you want, that would make people more desirable and they would be more attained?
Never admit it.
Yeah.
Because we would hang them all. The amount of insanity that would happen, all universities would shut down. Yeah. All governments would
conceptually,
shut down.
Theoretically, like
all religions would shut down. It would, and then mayhem would happen. And then we'd come out the other side and it'd be fine. And half the world would be, dead. But it is what it is.
I mean, we'd all be dead because we'd all try and sail to the fucking the edge.
Some parts of the government, some parts of the controlling, people that have some power in this world are trying to get this out. But you can't just shock everybody. It's been coming out, like 5 years ago, you mentioned flat Earth to somebody, they laugh at you and they say, let me get you a medical checkup. And, and they ridicule you. Now you mention flat Earth, like, yeah, come on my show. I want to talk about it. I have questions.
Yeah.
So it is getting normalized, where people
I guess
are
it's
starting
the same
to see
with the alien disclosure as well. They slowly ramped it up from, say, like in the 80s,
but
90s, when we were kids, it was nothing.
The alien disclosure is still to preserve the ball model. They want you to believe they're coming from outer space. So if, let's say, a civilization of more intellectual, less horrible people came from the extraterra, they want us to believe that they're aliens here attacking us, that they're here and that we need to fight them.
Project Bluebeam, isn't it?
They could do that. I mean, they could do a lot of stuff. They could totally fake an alien attack just to make us believe that there's aliens. And it's all about fear.
And now it's interesting that David has just mentioned that they want us to believe that they're coming from the outside. And most of the disclosure that's recently occurred, a lot of these witnesses, for instance, Commander Fravor and the people that were with him when he witnessed the Tic Tac and the other two incidents, they're always being seen around the ocean all the time. And underneath the ocean. And recently that one that was videoed in I can't remember where, that had plummeted through the ocean. So
there could be, as we talked earlier a little bit, there could be another realm below us. The
Right.
deepest hole ever dug is just short of 8 miles, where they hit an impenetrable barrier. Maybe it's another dome below us, and maybe there's an entire another realm below us. I don't know. Can't get there.
right.
Do you believe that we are the? I always go more on the spiritual side and the more like the God element of it. I'm not religious, but do you believe that we are the first terror? I guess the we talk about extra terror. Do you believe that we are the first?
We're the middle. We are the first.
We are the
No.
center.
I believe that there's at least 2 more beyond us that were here before us.
Like
and there's
this,
proof if you look at the mud floods. Yeah.
Do you believe like
The
this?
outwards,
Or okay,
outwards. Kind of like, think about Russian dolls with the one.
Yes.
babushka.
Okay. So
Good
that's my
analogy.
belief. Again, I'm not speaking for other flat earthers. I can't prove it, but there's a lot of ancient, literature that talks about, look at these other civilizations. Look at the pyramids. They're lying to us about them. All that stuff is being hidden. Look what's in the Vatican. Just look in your own town at these old buildings.
And
they make no sense. And then there's buildings that are underground where there's windows that are stories below the ground. Like, how did that ground build up? It wasn't from
And
sediment.
that goes back to that heliocentric model. Is that how the hell do the pyramids of Giza still point to Orion's belt, right? Is that right? They line up with Orion's
because
belt.
the stars are a perfect clock. Everything in the sky. Do you know that eclipses
believe you just said that,
happen
Ben.
on a 18-year and a few days cycle? They repeat again and again and again. Predicting eclipses has nothing to do with the heliocentric model. They were predicted for centuries before heliocentrism was even a thing.
Yeah,
That's a
so
damn
There's a
good
device
point.
called the
Yeah.
and the same with comets and all that. That's all. They're apparently all trapped in our gravity.
That's all
Yeah.
within the Earth system. They're not rocks falling on space. It's another lie. Everything we see in the sky is.
It's because they're timed.
I don't
That's
believe
what,
there's
That's
anything-
what I don't understand. Is how do they time?
Yeah.
Oh, Hal Bop's going to be here again in
That's what just was I was
245,000
about to
years.
say.
Right.
So Haley, think about this. Haley's comet goes around every 76 years or whatever, supposedly. And I was here when it came through. I don't know if you guys remember it. It
I
was
remember
such a
seeing
non-event.
Hal
Yeah.
I'm only
It was a
15,
little
so I don't know.
dark sky. But think about it. We're spiraling, screwing through 76 years times 500,000 miles an hour. No, plus we're moving sideways. How does it ever find us again? Right?
Yeah.
How does it ever find us?
Again, it's the
You know-
it's the concept of the idea not being changed. Like nobody likes change. I think I'm not agreeing with this, by the way. I'm just saying that it is a lot easier to live by a solid set of rules for thousands of years than it is for living by a solid set of rules
And
for
how
a
easy
human life.
and how easy it
that's
is
why.
how easy it is to accept those rules as well. Like, just look at this lockdown that's happening now, how it's been hyper normalized that now it's just normal. The way we
Yeah.
live now, where we're queuing up to go into Asda, even though it's empty in there. It's crazy that how easy.
Asda is Walmart, by the way,
Have you been to an
David.
airport lately? Everyone's 8 feet apart or whatever, 6 feet apart, checking their luggage, and then they pack them into a sardine can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
It's like, are you kidding me? Or people in restaurants, they're sitting down, they're talking, they're spitting at each other, and then they get up and they put their mask on to walk
yeah.
to the bathroom and,
And
stuff.
now they're building the insides of restaurants outside restaurants, so they can eat inside a restaurant, outside a restaurant.
And so possibly a car can run you over
Yeah.
while you're out there. Okay.
Great.
Or the globe will just throw you off and then you'll just disappear into existence.
Guys,
I'm only joking.
we're gonna wrap it up. Thanks for having me on. Any final questions or anything?
Go on, Ben.
I have so many questions.
There's so
Maybe
many
we,
questions.
maybe
I
you could...
just want to say, like, again, I'm sticking with the why for me. Is that, but how?
The what?
The how? How do you convince astronomers, cartographers, navigators, astronauts, NASA staff, pilots, flight crew?
I know, like,
especially
base-
flight crew. You can't keep them fucking quiet. Weathermen, scientists, teachers.
Let me answer
all
that.
of
Let
them.
me answer.
How do you
Because
convince
Mills and me are friends with a Chinook pilot for the RAF.
Many pilots know. Many pilots know. Many pilots don't think, and they just follow their GPS, and they think the Earth is so big. But many pilots know. Qantas pilots admitted to us that they talk about it openly in their lounges, but they can't speak publicly. We had a KLM pilot that came on and did an interview and told us how she knows the Earth is flat, and she was on a 3-hour interview with us, and then the next day she was grounded. She was finished, and her
What
career
was
is
her
over.
name
And
so people can search? Because I want to listen to that.
I don't even
Oh.
know, but it's under in the Flat Earth app. It hit the question mark.
Gotcha.
It says are all pilots
So
and
download the
scientists in on it.
And you can
It says are all
But it-
pilots and scientists in on it. Here's another reason I made the app is people are like, Dave, do you have a video on this? Do you have a video on that? You know, and it's just like I'm sending out playlists, and it was like crazy.
Sure,
And
I
Yeah, you
understand
fuck,
that.
you're a fucking busy man. Like we get it. Like we
A
understand.
busy
it now.
businessman at the
Yeah.
end of the
Yeah.
day.
even
and
our
again,
small podcast, we have
I'm
someone who
not
helps
doing
us.
this. I'm not doing this to sell apps.
No.
I want people to wake up to flat Earth, right? I want people to wake up, and I can't do it myself. So I got the app, and I made the app, and it's getting better all the time. I keep adding new stuff to it. Every time I think I'm done, I'm like, oh, I got another.
like
idea.
I said
I'm like, well,
earlier,
that's another $5,000.
It's I think £2 in the UK. Like
And
you
it's
spend more than that on a
99
Starbucks
cents.
coffee.
You're
buy
buying
the
me
app.
a half of a beer.
Yeah.
And,
Buy
and
them
it's
half a beer.
it's a fantastic opportunity to start thinking of these fantastic ideas
And do you know
in this
what?
current situation, because we've, like you said, Ben, where everybody at the moment is being indoctrinated into this new normal, which I hate saying that word because I don't want it.
Yeah.
It isn't
It's
going to
hot.
be.
Yeah.
So it's time to start looking at these things. you
Even
know?
if you don't believe it, at least you're opening your mind and you're having
Right.
another look at another possibility. Because you probably, when you buy a car, you don't just go, oh, car, buy a car. You go and you look and you compare the cars, you pick the car that you like based on your feelings. But you only pick it. You don't believe your beliefs in science. You're like, oh, it can only be that.
It's the only one.
It's the only.
You can
science.
literally only buy that car.
You
Or
only
this
get that
this
science,
guy.
but
You can only buy
actually-
this
Yeah.
round guy.
Yeah, actually,
But
when
it's
you look
this way.
into it, there's always people like Tesla and Edison and all that with their different electricities and how AC and DC electricity is one of them. Like they were fighting to who had the electricity that people would use. So why is that not the same with the science for the Earth? And
Right.
I like I said, I don't believe either way. I think it could be flat. I can't prove it myself. So,
I must admit,
existence is too fantastic for anything to not be what it actually is. So, like I said, what my stance is with reality right now, everything's too fantastic for anything to not be a possibility. As far as I look at things,
That's the thing. If we actually boil it down to what it is, like your cause is fantastic, David. Like I'm fully on board with your cause. I don't care if the world is round or flat. That's
Me
how
neither.
I am. I don't care.
Want the
Like
truth.
yeah,
Just want the
exactly.
truth.
The
Correct.
truth.
Think
Exactly.
about this. I showed you the spinning, twirling, whirling, heliocentric thing. If any of you meditate, just like, find a cool spot to
Yeah.
meditate and imagine yourself spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, orbiting at 66,000 miles an hour, chasing the sun and moving sideways.
Yeah,
probably
you'll
throw
be
up,
sick.
fall
You'll
over.
whitey.
Then clear your head, shake it off, and imagine yourself on a solid foundation that's not moving, and that everything above you is turning above you like a perfect clock. It's so more freeing. All the matter, you'll just feel yourself lift up, and you'll feel so much better because that's the creation.
you feel at the
And when you
center
see
of
the
existence.
creation- When you see the creation, there's no more thinking that you're insignificant. You understand who you are and where you are and what you are.
I mean, I don't know. I'm speaking for all of us here. We'd love to get you on the show again in like a couple of months. Like it may
no
may
problem.
not be
Just reach
about
out.
may not be about flat Earth. It might be more about spirituality. Like
Inside existence, inside the sun.
yeah,
So two last statements is not knowing doesn't make you ignorant. It's refusing to know is what makes you ignorant. And the last statement is you can lead a man to flat water, but you can't make him think critically about the shape of the earth.
I love that. I love that a lot.
David, it's been an absolute pleasure having
It's
you
been
on.
phenomenal.
Yeah, really
yeah.
enjoyed
Thank
it.
you very much.
You've opened our minds, and hopefully you've opened
Right.
our listeners' minds.
All right. And on the app, for Android, you have to have 8.0 operating system or it won't work on
Okay.
your phone.
Okay.
Yeah, but who
Okay.
uses Android?
Yeah, Android. Are you guys all iPhones?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Send me
indoctrinated.
all of your send me one email
Yeah.
with all 3 of your emails that are associated with your
Yeah.
app store.
Oh, thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
Send me that and I'll send them right over. Send it now or I'm gonna forget.
Well, I'll
Wicked.
Okay.
I'll get on that as soon as we finish. The
And it would be lovely to have you back on the show, David. It was a pleasure, man.
Yeah, just reach out when you're ready. Send me an email. You
Will.
got it.
Thanks
Fantastic.
a lot.
All right.
See you later.
Much love,
Thanks,
man.
David.
Take it easy, man.
Guys.
Ta-ra.
Have a good
Bye.
night.
See ya.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
That
No,
was
that was
What a
interesting.
great-
piece. Yeah.
What a great guy.
What a great.
It, w- it now this is I think it's hard to say.
I'm not gonna lie. I've drank 5 cans of beer, so
I had to have a beer. I had to have
Now,
a beer, but
it's-
I smoked vape and I ate an edible, and then it made more sense.
I think it's great that I think as fantastic as the claim is, and like I said, the reality is fantastic as it is anyway. I think that was a very good insight into being able to be allowed to question stuff that we are indoctrinated to know and drilled into us. I got taught this out of a textbook by my teacher when I was 8, so I believe it. Do you know, as bonkers as you could sit there and I got told that when I was 8. And to say that about other things, you would go, really? Why aren't you like? That's not how shit works.
Yeah.
You know, I think he was a very good example as to opening your mind and not particularly just being like, it's flat because of this, but just
He didn't. I don't think at one point did he kind of like tell us we're stupid for not believing it. And that the way he came across, and the way he didn't argue his point. He just delivered his point, which is brilliant.
right. And that's
was
greatly respectful
So
about it.
articulate. So like it's the like we've done this. He was very honest about it. Like in the Netflix thing, obviously, I know what goes on in an edit room for sure with anyone.
Right, that was interesting because
And
I was
yeah, we tell
oblivious
you-
to that ending.
Well, they call it Frankenbiting, don't they?
Yeah.
They basically bring in pieces together from
Yeah.
loads of bits you've said, and then they show you speaking, but
Yeah.
then they cut to another scene, but it's a continuation
Yeah.
of you speaking,
It's called
but it's
J-Play,
loads of different
yeah.
little bits.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
terrible.
So you and you right. So the producers that have gone right, we're going to make a flat Earth documentary. We're going to take the piss out of it. That's they before they
Yes,
even
that
started
was-
filming. They've gone. We should do a documentary on flat Earth because it's mental. Like they've got. Have you seen this thing on YouTube? No one's got. Netflix has gone. What I know, Netflix probably didn't produce it from start to finish, but the production company they've seen an opening. They've gone. Let's make a documentary about flat.
Yeah,
Earth.
there's an hole in here, yeah.
They've already got preconceptions, and they've probably just gone there, and everyone they're filming is well nutty, and they are all well nutty in that film, right? So you didn't.
But of course they are.
You
like-
listen to David talk, and he doesn't. I mean, like he's got some far out there ideas, but they're not wacky.
It sounds like that it would be hard to edit a guy like David into a particular piece of context because, like you said, he wasn't abusive in the sense of like this is how it is and this is you should believe this. Why don't you believe this? He was delivering it in a this is the information I found.
Yeah.
Do with it what you feel. You can't really manipulate that, can you?
No,
because
he
it's
was
pure honesty.
He was very articulate, which is, again, what I was saying to him about all the stuff leading up to the idea of flat Earth, for me, is more important than the idea of a flat Earth. Like, like I said, I don't care if the Earth is flat or round. It doesn't. It could be a fucking a
Trapezoid.
fucking
There you go, to shape.
Could be a we could be on the
shitty
back of a turtle.
papier-mâché.
Turtles all the way
Papier-mâché
down, baby.
fucking- Yeah.
But when he was talking about the idea of the puddle going out and stuff like that, like I truly, but it's fucking.
And when he
I
said, and do you know
truly
when he
believe
goes,
that-
Jupiter could be a sun, Mars could be a sun. I was like, oh my god, they could
Yeah,
be suns.
that's when I was just like, "Ah!" but the idea of him saying that there are potential outer life forms that exist in before extraterrestrials, and that just to me immediately I thought of those stories where these people.
Before.
These people talk about being abducted, but not from like outside, but someone in a forest that looked like a relation of theirs. Like a girl in the 1700s said she witnessed her uncle in the forest. I think it was this
Finger
story was
up,
either
that finger.
her uncle, or it was her granddad, and that they led them into this forest, into this cave.
That's a molestation. That is not an
Hold on.
That's a molestation.
I love as soon as David's gone, like the tone just goes right down.
It turns to nonsense immediately.
Ben's like, nonsense!
But she was saying that
Sorry.
she went into this cave where she saw this civilization of people where there were like drapes of curtains that looked all futuristic, and these people that looked like, she said that when she then went into this like new kind of realm of existence, her granddad looked like her but didn't. Like there was something not fully right about him, and she was saying that they were all talking in a language that she could only understand bits and pieces of language.
Yeah.
If we went back to the 1700s, you try listening to a Cockney from like from like 1400s in London, you could barely understand them. Do you know what I mean? And that's where I was just like, what the fuck? That makes sense.
That diagram that he was showing about, the original diagram he showed us was about like the closed off Earth with the ice wall and the purple line, and then he showed the next one. And then he showed the Egyptian like analogies of planets.
Yes,
what the Egyptians called. That made so much sense to me, because it's like when you're, for instance, when you're in the snow and you run your finger around it, and your finger's there, but then the heat from your finger is created like a burr, I guess.
Yeah.
A burr is the word. And that description for anybody who's listening, it was like the Earth being flat, and then loads of ice, and then behind that was another like mound of ice, but then another Earth going up into another mound and another mound, and it just, that was like, because that is basically what it would be like traveling to another planet. Like you are leaving the warmth of your planet, going to the cold, and then coming back into another warm planet, and it's just like,
I think that's
conceptually great, but
I think that's the out of that whole 2 hour like segment nearly, that is the one piece of information that I took from that, and like straight to heart. I was just like, that fucking makes so much sense to me, or at least the perception that I had, the seed that I already had kind of had in my head for a while. He kind of just like, I hate to, I don't know, make it into poetry, but blossomed it almost, where I was just like,
I'm completely opposite of what you just said, Dean. Like, I genuinely thought that those people believed that the construct of our planet is literally a disc. But the thing that he showed us was basically like when you're playing a computer game and you've only discovered one bit of a map.
Yeah, and it's just
and then there was like more around the map that was like grayed out because you haven't been there. That is more exciting, because if humans, in my eyes, like if humans had treated like space travel like that, like if this is how it is, if this is how it is what David's saying, that's what it should be. It should be like, we only know this planet, the rest of it's grey as fuck. We don't need to make up fucking ideas about it. We just need to like deal with what's going on now, and then when we get to that extra bit of that planet, that grey area will open, and then
and then we'll
which we haven't as humans, have we? We've literally gone, what's that over there? I can't fucking be there. I'm just gonna make up its entire construct. Yeah, exactly.
When he said dark, like they made up dark matter. So, and they have made up dark, and then there had to be something there. So dark matter.
Yeah, because and the way they perceive.
Did he say something that was like he didn't explain. Obviously, we didn't go into details of what the plane is that we're on. Like, what is that?
Right.
It's just an infinite plane. Are we on an infinite plane?
Do you know what is really, really strange about the idea? Like, which through this whole thing, I've just been like, why didn't civilization start like that? Why didn't civilization just start at that? Exactly like what I said about the computer game. Why didn't it just start at that one point, and then the more we discover about it, because there's always that one guy who's going, "What's that up there? We need to know about what that is now." Before finding out what's wrong. Because they always say, don't they? They always say to scientists, why aren't you solving the problems, i.e. the ones in the ocean? Like, why aren't you finding out what's going on in the ocean before you're finding out
what's going on up there?
Yeah.
He didn't touch on that, which was, I had it in my notes and I didn't get round to it, but...
Hopefully next time...
Like, I want to know what's at that fucking icy puddle at the bottom, because we haven't been there yet.
That's why I was, he said in a few months, hit me up if you want me to come on, because I like the idea of the possibility of a realm existing somewhere within what we believe, the Earth, and that connects with the UFOs that are being sighted that are coming from the ocean. Like, why are we going up there and not down here now? That's a huge question.
Like he said, that all those... like national, they're only there to prove that there's a globe. Right? But I mean, going on about having him on again in a couple of months. It'd be interesting to see what our listeners think, because we, at the moment, it feels like we all took the pill and we were like, "This is brilliant!" Like we all believe it. Like it's amazing. I mean, are the listeners gonna feel the same way as we did, or have we just been hypnotized into believing David Weiss?
Well, because when I've looked at flat earthers, I felt like it's always had a narrative behind it to sit there and be like, look at this joker. And
it's always got a sob story, isn't it? It's always got.
Yeah, I've been sort of preconceived to be like, oh, this is going to be a laugh.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he thinks it's flat. Belly laugh.
I've been
Whereas
taking meth
just
since I was 3 and the Earth's flat. That's like, the Earth is flat.
This was just completely different because, as you stated, Ben, he came in, he was completely honest. He didn't tell us that this is the way it is. You're an idiot if you don't believe it. He just brought what he had been taught or what he had found himself and was just like, look, this is the information. The same way that we're doing about Princess Diana's death, the 7/7 bombings. This is what we've researched to you listening.
Maybe we should get an app.
Maybe we should.
$2.99, or just sign up to the Patreon. We'll do we should do a $2.99 tier, which is the Flat Earth tier, on our Patreon. If you sign up,
and maybe David will give you access to the Flat Earth app via you do it. If we just like throw him a couple of dollars.
Why don't
you know what I mean?
right? Sign up for his app, $2.99. Sign up for our. Oh shit! Siri's going off.
Stop it, CIA.
Sign up for our Patreon for $2.99, and then you just donating $6 to Flat Earth and to the Conspiracy Podcast.
Yeah,
I mean, like we're probably coming to the end of this. We're gonna probably wrap it up soon, but the kind of like he seemed like a cool guy and he seemed like a really nice guy, and he's probably had that thing. Obviously, he's got all those infographics structured. I like that because I like that the fact that he's like thought about that. But when he actually comes down to like asking him questions, he genuinely does seem to he seemed to have taken a step back and just be like, no, this is actually what I believe. And he even said, this is what I believe, but other flat earthers don't believe.
Yeah.
And it was like, and that kind of concept about like I say in they've, like we say about the government, they're controlling us. But I
nearly did ask him, who are they?
Yeah, exactly.
I nearly did.
So we can use it in our future podcast.
He said cabal. He said cabal.
He did say cabal.
Sorry, JJ, I cut you off. Sorry, mate. Go on.
But yeah, I feel that especially going on to the Beyond the Curve thing, I know straight away he was expecting that because it was like his first thing that he was like, boom. Because it made it look like a Comic-Con story. It made it look like two lost souls who no one loves anymore, and like one of them's a MILF and the other one's just this fucking loser guy. And it's just like, and it just made it seem really sad. And then like he comes on like fucking, like balls to the wall. And there's a lot of that stuff that I didn't know about. And there's,
I wanted to ask him what his opinions were on Jake Paul Logan Paul, because he came out as a flat earther. Fuck, I missed an opportunity there.
I thought he was going to say because one of the boxes is you're going to knock him straight off the disc.
Hey,
fucking hope so.
I just really enjoyed the chat, and
I did.
And
absolutely.
at no point, because I know we were all saying before that we'll be respectful, like we won't pick on him, we won't bully him. He didn't get there. At no point did I go, I'm going to bully him now. Like there was no, I didn't have to hold back. There was no like holding back me being a cunt to someone. It was, I totally respected everything he had to say. Even if I didn't believe all of it, I still had full respect the whole time for him. There was no time
absolutely.
I go, oh, he's a fucking loon. Like skip. It was he kept the conversation respectful. Like he kept me like
engaged,
and not thinking he's a whack job, which is brilliant.
I think that was what I did kind of what I got from the like that whole thing. I think that's what I was getting to. It felt like a bit scripty until he started speaking from his own vibe, and then I was like, and when he started talking about the spirituality realm of it, it's then when for me it became like, it doesn't matter if the world is flat or round, who cares? Like that, and it like he said, it's the deception, which is what we always speak about in this podcast. This is literally
breaking out of the norm.
And it's the only question I wanted to ask him is why? Is that like that? Because that's the issue with flat Earth for me is that.
And I think that's what he did. I think that's what he explained. He said if you believe you're if you're confined to this body and you have nothing else further.
Yeah, we're alone in space. Therefore, you're alone in here. Whereas...
And I liked the idea as to when he sat there and said, if you was to meditate in the center and imagine everything else is moving around you instead of you moving around everything else, it brought you a sense of like content, one with yourself, one with existence. It made sense when it came to spirituality and meditation.
I remember at school when
JJ don't like that.
when they were like years ago, people believed that the sun and the earth rotated around the earth. But so only until recently did they discover, and this is me now getting on the science.
Riffing.
I'm riffing here. Down. Right. So only until recently did we find out that the sun didn't. Let me just tune up one second. Did only until recently, right? They told us that only until recently people thought the Earth was flat and the sun and the moon rotated around the Earth, right? But we've got structures, monolithic structures that line up with the stars and the sun and stuff.
Yeah.
And
they've Orion's
got clocks,
belt.
and they've got calendars that line up perfectly with the sun and the moon and stuff. So they must have done the calculations to get those maths would have involved a curvature of some sort, right? Am I going mad? But am I now proving flat Earth?
No, because this is what he was saying. It's like the problem. God, I know we need to wrap it up soon, but the problem with the mainstream science is that it's taught everybody the mathematics, whereas in the flat Earth science is only taught. It only takes mathematics, which humans created in the first place. Yeah. So the curve he was basically saying is like it lines up the same every year. Yeah, that's fine. But they're talking about like for instance, we have leap years, which is something to do with like offset. Like if that's the case, it wouldn't line up every year. But he was saying it does, and I looked at it and it does. Like it's always the same, which is fucking weird.
And this intrigued me when he was saying that he spoke to like the woman from, I think, was it Croatia and
KLM, the airline.
No, not the pilot. Not the pilot.
Oh right.
He spoke to a woman.
From Croatia.
The 102-year-old.
Saying like she was saying that like when I was at school in the 1930s, we were taught that the Earth was flat. Now to me, as far as I'm concerned, that sounds like the most generalistic piece of pub ammo that anyone could bring out. That did you know in Croatia they actually still thought the Earth was flat just before World War II? I thought that would just be something of a crazy fact. That oh my God, can you believe that? Yeah.
There was also
why
something
is that
in
not
that
reported anywhere. What?
There was something there though that I was like. I didn't say anything at that moment, but I was like, there was probably kids in Germany who believed that the Holocaust was right. You know what I mean? Like at that time.
Sorry,
You know, that was kind of like the vibe. Like, and he didn't know her name. I was like, if I spoke to a 102-year-old woman in Croatia, I would have known her name.
Did he say he'd spoken to her? Or his co-host had spoken to her?
Possibly, I don't know. Like,
it was the co-host.
Again, like I really did enjoy having David on the show. Like, and he seemed like a genuine person, and he seemed like somebody who believes what he's saying, which is what we should, essentially.
Well,
it's what we do.
I'd like the idea of him coming back on the show and us talking about the idea of a realm existing underneath or within, or like. I
agree.
To me, I would love an insight from himself about that, because that.
But that's another $2.99 a month, Dean. So I'm joking. I'm joking. No, I really enjoyed that.
I did too, and I hope everyone else listening did as well, because it was. This is. Everybody, if David is still listening to this, everyone in the Discord has been super excited for this. We've developed, although we've only done this is the 16th episode. 15th. We've built up an incredible community within the Discord, and it was great that it came across immediately. People were just like, "Oh, this is a great opportunity," instead of being just oh my god, really,
And
you're
yeah,
doing this.
and I think-
it was really, really like nice to see that from our community.
It was I think everyone had that same initial thought, like, oh wow, we're gonna have a mad person on, and then the more you think about it from our point of view and our listeners' point, you go, but actually I'd like to know what he thinks of it, or I'd like to know
Exactly.
and then that whole he's a madman thing goes out the window. It's like he just believes something different to us. Like he's
Why-
And also, the fact of the matter is that David contacted us, so he's obviously confident in the fact that he knows what he's. Well, I'm saying he knows what he's talking about. He's speaking to us three, but
he knows more than we do.
Yeah, and he's definitely convinced us all.
Yeah, which unfortunately he's done.
And just going on to that, the podcast is changing its name. It's not another Flat Earth podcast as of Monday.
Not another Flat Earth conspiracy podcast. David got us by this short and curly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I still don't know what I believe. What do you believe now, JJ, after that chat? Do you believe anything different? Has he changed your mind in any way?
He's informed me on things that I have thought about in my mind about like a world outside our world, but visually, like graphically in my brain, I've always seen it as a globe. Like I've seen it as a ball. The concept and the idea still remains the same for me. There's something beyond what I have access to. That's
what you're experiencing.
I still believe that there's something beyond what I physically can have access to. Whether it's the atmosphere on getting off the Earth or a massive ice wall, it's still something that I'll probably never experience in my lifetime.
Yeah.
But the concept's great. I like it.
Mine, yeah, the idea looks good. Mine is I'm kind of like agnostic to the sense, if that's the correct word. I believe it is. I'm still, at least it basically it is. I'm glad I've had the opportunity to actually talk to someone that is big in the flat Earth community, instead of myself just watching the likes of Netflix, these rather
Poorly
these
produced
corporately-
YouTube videos as well.
Well, yeah, overly produced, and as well, it's opened me up to the understanding of or the possibility of like outside other realms in a sense, because I'm a firm believer in the idea of the same thing JJ said, in us not being able to experience something else that exists within the reality, but there's something going on that's stopping us realizing it. Like I believe in the fourth dimension, because the third dimension's possible, the second dimension's possible, so why isn't the fourth, fifth, sixth, and so on and so on, you know, until it's proven to not exist, it could be a possibility. So it's opened my eyes to allowing myself to look into more fantastic ideas than what I have already done. So
The glass is less frosted.
it is. Yeah. I can see a little bit clearer now that Lorraine has gone.
Yes, I told that joke, right? That joke at work when
You
I
get
went
that one for
and it got 0 laughs. And I told it,
Sorry.
I told it really well, and it was like they go, I don't what Chloe.
It's probably because you said Chloe, Ben.
I can
You'd
see
had
Chloe
too
now.
many gummy bears.
Lorraine has gone.
Okay.
I
Again,
could see Chloe now. My brain's gone.
After, I mean, yeah, like I was definitely like going, oh, what is this going to be? Was the main thing this podcast.
Right.
Was that.
Yeah.
But as soon as he showed that version of the Earth, then you guys, we'll get him to send all the links. Where it just sort of opened it up, and you could see that where the pink circle was at the beginning, and it had the ice wall, and then it just had land on the other side.
Yeah.
I was like, that's what he believes. Like, until then, I was like, floating disc in space, dome. Like I didn't realize that there was actually a way of visualizing it that didn't like a floating space station. Like
I wanted to ask him what he believes is like as the furthest point of land.
Yeah,
and the
that's what
problem
I
is
wanna know.
because there was so much infographic there, which like we could tell, couldn't we, that it was like infographics pulled from like everywhere. It was just but that, like you said, that one was like at the beginning, you could see that pink line and you could see the ice, but then you could see like, you know, fucking Elder Scrolls, like, oh, somewhere I haven't been. I need to go further.
Oh, it's locked. I have to
But
buy the
you can't
DLC.
go.
It's all
Great
DLC,
example.
man. It's all DLC, man.
It's a
that fucking-
DLC, and if you're a fucking private millionaire, you can maybe
Well, that's
go there.
and I wanted to ask that as well, and then I forgot. Is that like the people the cabal that he said does run the world?
Yeah.
Do they go there? Is that where they have their private? Do they go on holiday out there? Like,
Well, apparently they still do it in the fucking hills of California, don't they?
Hey.
Fucking, yay, Bohemian Grove, bitches.
Still need to touch on that one at some point.
I know, I like.
Definitely.
But we need to get David on for Bohemian Grove, see what he thinks about
Right.
that.
Yeah.
I need to get some food in me as well, as I'm going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been up since I was awake at 3:30 this morning with an immensely drunk wife, and I didn't get very much sleep at all.
I tried to swim in.
Oh, wink, wink.
Wing. No, like I didn't at all. I couldn't. I couldn't have been.
Morally, you couldn't.
She'd had a few too many white wines.
I tried to swim in the Thames today, which was
Why did you do that?
3 degrees C. Well, if someone texts me going, "Do you want to do something?" I normally say yes, just because. Fuck it.
Why
I'm
not?
stuck in my house. I can't do anything. Do you want to go?
Your willy could fall off. What could
You
be
want to go
worse?
swim in the sea? What temperature is it? 7.5 degrees. The water. All right, get there. Actually, it's 3.5 degrees.
Yeah, thermometer's broken, by the way.
Minus. And I crashed my car, so
Yeah.
It's been
On that note-
eventful.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you so much,
we are-
everybody.
yeah.
Drive carefully.
OG Socks, sign up for the Discord.
Sorry.
The Discord now, after this episode, will be popping. All right?
Oh yeah, it's going to be.
It's going to go
exploding.
off. Already, the people that listeners that are in the Discord, you already know how impatient you guys have been for this episode.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
if
very.
you're listening to if this is your first Not Another Conspiracy podcast, or if it's not, and you're not in the Discord, join now. And again, if you can sign up for the Patreon, then that really helps the podcast. I don't know how OG Socks helps the podcast, but I know that
They just give us socks.
they help you, the listener, because they give you 20% off your socks when you use our promo code.
Exactly.
And we don't
Absolutely.
get anything from that. We're just doing it to support.
Well,
them.
we do. We get socks.
Well, we get.
We got some socks.
We got some socks, and they're brilliant socks. Highly recommend them. Thank you so much for listening. I've been Ben,
I've been Dean.
And I've been Jai Jai.
and Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself.
What happens when it comes to it? In the
Think, oh, maybe they did. So in the back, there isn't
a light brown jacket.
cool story.
We're not the first. We definitely won't be the last. We'd like to welcome you